Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to True Crime, the podcast that helps you find new, emerging, and undiscovered true crime podcasts. I'm Greg, the host and curator of True Crime. Today's episode is from Gore Report, a true crime podcast. The Gore Report is a best friend duo from small town Georgia. They cover everything from true crime to paranormal to morbid history, all the stuff that makes your skin crawl. This is an extra long episode because we're combining parts 1 and part 2 of their BTK episodes. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, we're going to put it all in this one meaty episode. Enjoy. If you like today's episode, make sure to check out the episode description for links to subscribe. All right, let's get this show started.
Begin.
Descriptions of graphic content intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
My name is Gage.
And my name is Ray.
And you are listening to Gore Report.
A true crime podcast.
Sit. Every single time, like before we hit that record button, I tell myself, I'm not going to make it weird. And then the minute you hit record, what do? I make it weird. Every single time.
We must assert our dominance. The weird of the weirds.
The weird of the weird, the weird of the ways of the weird.
This is the way.
Of the weird. So, hey everybody, if this is your first time listening in with me and Ray, then hi, hello, and welcome.
Welcome.
We're super happy to have you. We hope you're having a good day and a good week and a good night. And as we also always say, if you're a returning listener, then like double, triple, quadruple the welcome. We're so happy that you decided to stick around.
Well, hello there. It's nice to meet you.
I do want to make this intro a little straightforward because today's episode is going to be a lot.
We're still in 6 weeks of suffer.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Which is why I for sure don't want to waste any time. But before we dive into things, I want to take a quick second to talk about our Patreon. If you guys follow our Instagram or our Facebook pages, then you've already seen this update, but for those of you that listen that maybe don't have us on social media, I just kind of want to take a quick minute to fill everyone in. Basically, when me and Ray created our Patreon, we first made a account that was specifically for a patron, like not a creator account, but rather a customer account. We have no idea what we're doing, and it shows. So when we got our creator page up and running, things were going fine, but we got an email from Patreon saying that our page was removed. And yeah, Ray and I put a deletion request for our non-creator account. And I don't know if it was a misunderstanding on their part or if things got mixed up or maybe both the accounts were connected by the same email. I'm not sure. But when they processed our deletion request, they deleted our actual account.
Yay. Love that for us.
So we immediately contacted support and we tried taking steps to see if maybe we could get our page back. Unfortunately, there is not a way for that to happen because it's already been removed. So we've went through the process of making another creator account. This one's going to be permanent. There are no deletion requests at all. We are sorry for any inconveniences that it caused, and if you already were a patron to us and you already paid, I am terribly sorry. Feel free to wait some time before you resubscribe if you would like to do that so you don't get charged twice in a small period of time. So yeah, that's all we can do. Hopefully by the time you guys hear this Thursday, our page will already be up and running. and things will be back to normal. It's going to be exactly the same. Our tiers are going to be the same. Everything will pretty much be the same. It's just going to be a new page, and this one for sure is not going to get deleted. So we just wanted to take a second and fill you in. If you already were a patron and you can't find our page, that is why. So just give us a few days and that will be worked out. I promise.
And we're going to make sure that we update our show notes that have the Patreon link. So that way, when you do go to the link, it will take you to the new page.
Right. Everything will just be current and you won't have to worry about fiddling between two pages. We'll have everything set to where you can just find the one.
But it really sucks, though, because we lost everything. So thank you guys for those of you who did donate to us. Thank you again.
You're still our Gore goats. We don't care.
You're still the Gore goats. You're always going to be our Gore goats.
So now that we've got the Patreon stuff out of the way, I just want to go ahead and dive in because woo-wee.
I'm not ready.
So this is week 5 of 6 weeks of suffering. The last 3 weeks in particular were extremely heavy. The Columbine episodes definitely stuck with me a bit. I'm still recovering. You did incredible.
Thank you.
Like, I'm sure we are all very much still recovering from that. And I wish that I could say that we were going to take a mental health break today or maybe do something a little less horrible. But unfortunately, we are not.
No.
I am only going to gradually decrease the vibe further. My episode today will be part 1 of 2, and we're going to be talking about Dennis Rader, or as he's also known as, the BTK killer.
Ugh.
This man truly gets under my skin. I'm telling you, like with some of the killers and stuff that we've covered on this show, you'd think that they'd all have this effect on me, but that's not exactly the case. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they're all horrible monsters and I can't stand any of them, but there's some things and layers to Dennis Rader that just, I don't even know how to really explain it. He just really, really makes me angry. Like, I won't even lie, I struggled putting this episode together because I was just completely over it before I even started.
Oh, no.
So, like, yeah, Dennis is truly insufferable. Whew. Another fun fact for you, Dennis Rader was the very first serial killer I ever learned about several years ago. Even though he makes me sick to my stomach with rage, his case still fascinates and terrifies me nonetheless. So let me give you a very brief overview. If you aren't familiar with this case, then I want you to have an idea of who Dennis is before we jump into everything.
And the reason why he hates him so much.
It's going to be awful. You can consider this part of the intro a vibe check, per se.
Oh, no.
So, Dennis Rader is an American serial killer who terrorized the city of Wichita, Kansas for decades. He committed his first murders in 1974 and his last murder in 1991. So, in that 17-year period, Dennis Rader claimed the lives of 10 people, 2 of which were children under the age of 12 years old.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And children?
Children.
I thought it was just grown-ups.
No, he killed 2 kids. And crazy enough, it took another 14 years after his last murder in 1991 for him to get caught and identified by police. So his reign of terror lasted for about 30 years before he was caught.
Yeah.
It took that long. Now, some other things to know about Dennis is that he's a complete narcissist and an attention seeker. You'll see that very clearly as we make it through this story. He actually named himself BTK, which, if you don't know, BTK stands for bind them, torture them, kill them.
Oh, fuck.
But the media did not give that name to him. He named himself because he thought he was just so badass and he deserved his own serial killer name type shit. Like, he's a little fucking douchebag is what he is.
Like what we were talking about in the 70s where everybody was getting these cool serial killer names, supposedly, you know?
That's what I'm saying, but at least other killers like, you know, like Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, Richard Ramirez, at least the media gave them their names. That's not the case here. Dennis literally named himself.
I mean, he is a narcissist. This is what narcissists do.
Like, he really thought of himself as one of the greats when it came to serial killing, but he also had, like, no originality at the same time. He took inspiration from other serial killers when he planned his crimes, such as Bundy, for example. And Dennis also wanted his very own murder barn. Murder barn.
Murder barn.
He wanted a fucking murder barn. I'm telling you, he is the dumbest of dumbasses.
A murder barn.
Yes. Another thing that made Dennis quite famous was his game of cat and mouse that he played with the police throughout the 30-year span it took for him to get caught. He was writing letters to the police back and forth. He was planting clues around town for them to find, just all kinds of crazy shit. And we're definitely going to get into all of it.
Wow.
He tried his hardest to come across as this super genius killer mastermind, but he wasn't. I think that the media made him out to be far more intelligent and calculated than he actually was.
Well,
For sure.
Sensationalism, you know.
And although I will be roasting this idiot throughout my episode, I don't want to take away from what he did at the same time. I don't want to take away from the families and the people that he destroyed. He may be a complete dumbass and cookie cutter in a lot of ways, but this man still very much committed some truly heinous crimes. And I do believe wholeheartedly that he is evil, even more than he is stupid. So Dennis Rader was a family man and a pillar in his community. He lived at home with his wife and 2 children. He was a husband and a dad. He was a Boy Scout leader, and he was an extremely active member of the Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita. He completely had this facade that he was this good, great, all-American man, but he wasn't. Behind closed doors, he was nothing short of an absolute monster. And not only did he commit these absolutely awful crimes, but he hid his crimes and this whole double life from his family.
Whoa.
No one knew anything. In the eyes of his family, Dennis was just this wonderful, loving father and husband. No one had any idea.
That's the part that scares me the most about people. Like, you could literally have a whole nother side of you, like a whole nother alter ego just out here doing fuckery.
You would never know.
God.
So his daughter, Carrie Rawson, wrote a book about her experience growing up with Dennis as a father and how it impacted her greatly when she learned the truth of what he had done.
Oh, wow.
The name of her book is called A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. I will be leaving a link in the show notes if you would like to purchase yourself a copy, so be sure to check that out. I just couldn't imagine what, she and her family went through. I mean, one day he's this great loving father and you have all of these fond memories with him. And then the next you learn that he's this sadistic fucking killer who was responsible for taking the lives of 10 people over 3 decades.
And I only imagine that could make you ask the question of whether them being a good father was real or whether it was manipulation. Like, that is so scary.
I wouldn't know what to do with any of that. And in a lot of ways, I think his family are also victims in all of this because he hid this from them. They had no idea, and just the shock of that after so long. Like, his children were grown when they found out that their father was BTK.
Wow.
So they went their whole lives with their dad, and then just to find this out, it's just fucking crazy. As far as my sources for this case go, I used quite a few, but there is one source in particular that I would like to shout out, and it's another book. It's called Confessions of a Serial Killer, The Untold Story of Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer, and it's by Catherine Ramsland.
Okay.
If you don't know who she is, Catherine is an author and professor of forensic psychology and criminal justice at DeSales University, and she's very often referred to as an expert when it comes to the topic of serial killers. She also spent a significant amount of time studying Dennis Rader. She interviewed him extensively and worked with him extensively, so her book on the case is absolutely amazing. Like, she goes way deep into her own psychological analysis and just like everything. And there's a lot of things in her book that came straight from the mouth of Dennis Rader himself. It's a lot of his firsthand accounts.
Wow.
So it's a fantastic resource for this case. Her book wasn't my main source, but I for sure did read and use parts of it because I think hearing things right from the source is important. So I will have some quotes and stuff from Dennis as we progress through everything. So again, I just wanted to shout that out. If you'd like to grab a copy of that book, I will also leave a link in the show notes for that. And I guess now that that's all out of the way, we can dive into the world of Dennis the Menace Rader. It's going to be a really shitty ride. It's going to be a real shitty ride.
You did not just name this man Dennis the Menace.
Oh, yeah, I did, because he's nothing short of that. He's a stupid fucking menace.
All right, Mr. Rader, I need to find out more information. On that particular day, the 15th day of January, 1974, can you tell me where you went to kill Mr. Joseph Otero?
I think it's 1834. Edgemore.
You were engaged in some kind of fantasy during this period of time?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you use the term fantasy, is this something you were doing for your personal pleasure?
Sexual fantasy, sir.
BTK was literally the guy next door with a wife and 2 kids.
I had never strangled anyone before, so I really didn't know how much pressure you had to put on a person or how long it would take. Nobody answered the door, so I went around to the back of the house, cut the phone lines. I could tell that there wasn't anybody in the north apartment. Broke in and waited for her to come home in the kitchen.
What happened then?
Finally got the hand on her and got a nylon sock and started strangling her.
So you wrapped this stocking around her neck?
Yes.
Nobody would have imagined this church leader, this father, this good husband, as somebody that could even contemplate the murders that he committed.
I totally forgot to say this earlier too, but for part 1 of this case, I want to take you guys through his early life, which wasn't all that eventful actually, but there are some notes to take from it. And I also want to go through his first 7 murders. So yeah, it's going to be a rough ride. Then next week for part 2, we will go through his last 3 murders. We're going to get into his famous game of cat and mouse with the authorities, him getting caught, his trial, just all of that stuff. Next week will be the conclusion of this case. Thank goodness. This is not going to be a 3-parter, like I promise.
Oh, man.
So
you were like, I am so done with you.
yeah,
No,
no, we're not doing that. This 2 parts.
I am not spending 3 weeks talking about your ass.
No, definitely not. So let's begin. Dennis Lynn Rader was born to his parents William Elvin Rader and Dorothea May Cook Rader on March 9th, 1945 in the town of Pittsburgh, Kansas. He was the oldest of 4 boys. His younger siblings are Paul, Jeff, and Bill Rader, and Dennis and his siblings would grow up in Wichita. Now, as I said, Dennis really didn't have a crazy childhood. With most serial killers or people that grow up to commit extremely violent crimes, 9 times out of 10, you'll find that said person had a horrible childhood filled to the brim with abuse and, whatever else.
Yeah.
You see that often. And trauma sustained from abuse during childhood will most of the time play a big part in things. But this is not the case with Dennis Rader. He did not experience any of that. It is said that Dennis and his younger siblings all had a pretty good relationship with their parents. Dennis nor any of his siblings ever claimed that they were abused in any way. And from everything that they've said, plus what I've been able to find, William and Dorothea seem to be good parents. So Dennis's father, William, he was a U.S. Marine, and he for sure was strict with his children, but not violently abusive. He was no more strict than any other kid's dad was in that time period, I don't think,
I mean, you remember what I said about the teachings of Uncle Sam right at home.
Right. I mean, everybody was strict, and that seems to be the case here. Not violently abusive, but there was order.
Wow.
There's really nothing significant to note with that. His mother, Dorothea, she worked as a bookkeeper, and she also had a knack for mathematics. And these are traits that Dennis would claim later in his life that he got from his mom. His love of math and the ability to be good with numbers. Dennis was described as being very quiet and very shy when he was a kid. He didn't start to break out of his shell until his early 20s. He definitely wasn't as social as the other kids. And his childhood, again, for the 3rd time, I mean, it was pretty average. It only got really fucking weird and twisted because Dennis made it that way. So Dennis claimed later in his life that he started torturing and killing animals at a very young age. He would take cats and dogs and he'd strangle them to death. And sometimes...
Oh my God.
Yeah, and sometimes he would hang these animals. And he was only a kid, like a couple of years old, and he's doing this shit. And it gets weirder, much weirder. There was another instance when Dennis was very young, I'm thinking maybe 7 or 8 years old. But he was at home one day with his mom, and his mom's ring got caught on a spring in their couch, and she started panicking because she couldn't get her finger loose. So she's crying and she's freaking out, and she's telling Dennis, go get help. Like, I'm stuck. And Dennis described in his own words later that seeing his mom in this helpless situation where she was afraid and panicking gave him the first feelings of sexual arousal. Dennis later attributed this experience to how his sinister fantasies and impulses began to take shape. He started developing fantasies involving women being in completely vulnerable and helpless situations. As a child, Dennis said that he was also aroused when he was spanked. And as he grew older, he developed a habit of binding himself with rope while he masturbated. And
like in an autoerotic asphyxiation kind of way?
Yes. And the whole connection between his dark fantasies and sex stayed with him. Later on, when he actually starts killing people, Dennis specifically named the orgasms he would have while he was killing people. Do you want to know what he named them?
Oh, God.
Do you want to know? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Sparky Big Time.
What the fuck?
He was having lots of Sparky Big Time. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How the fuck?
This is the kind of person we're dealing with.
Sparky. Oh, Sparky Big Time.
It's so fucking awful. Like, I just can't help but roast him. Like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Bitch, the visual that I just got in my brain,
He is so dumb. Now, going back to the family dynamic and the home life, there are some people out there that do believe Dennis was abused in some horrific way. I mean, how else can you explain what he grew up to do, right?
Yeah.
So this quote is from a psychologist and professor at Gulf Coast University, Terrence G. Leary. He helps lead one of the largest databases on serial killers, and in an interview posted by Heavy.com, he expressed that he believes Dennis was subjected to some form of extreme abuse. He said, quote, "Dennis Rader has been an enigma to many of us in the field because I don't think the people who claim to be experts are regarding Dennis, and I'll tell you why. They say he was squeaky clean, oldest of 4 boys, very traditional parents, traditional family, went to school, did the right things, etc., so there were no clues," end quote. Then Leary further states in this same interview, quote, "He was terribly cruel to animals. He also engaged in mutilations of some degree. He would torture to a large degree his victims, all 10 of them, intense torture, really, really cruel torture. And he would get some close to death and then revive them so they could live this horrific experience again. And he would do that simultaneously. It's not only a very evil, heinous act, but it is driven by someone who is exposed to horrific abuse. So something is hidden here. This is a puzzle. Not all is meeting the eye here," end quote. So I definitely think those quotes are interesting, and it presents another side of perception into the matter. Given what Dennis Rader did and the kind of monster he grew up to be, it's hard for us to wrap our minds around how someone could, turn out like that seemingly out of nowhere, right?
Right.
And ultimately, we won't know exactly what Dennis's life was like because we aren't him and we didn't live his life. There are just no records, no reports, no anything that would point to him or any of his siblings being abused. Dennis himself even said that he wasn't abused at all. He only held a slight grudge against his mother because she didn't pay him enough attention. I'm not completely erasing the possibility that he was abused. I'm just saying from what it looks like and from what I could find, it seriously doesn't seem like he was.
Wow.
And I am in no way a forensic psychologist, and I am not an expert on any of this, but I do believe that those quotes from Leary slightly touch on what I was saying in the intro about how I think a lot of media coverage on Dennis made him out to be so much more calculated and intelligent than he really was.
Yeah.
And when Leary spoke about how Dennis would strangle someone to the point of death and then he would revive them and bring them back, then strangle them again, that whole thing. I will touch on it more when we get there, but I want to go ahead and say that Dennis didn't do that. As in, he wasn't in control enough nor smart enough to literally strangle someone to the point of death and then bring them back in this calculated manner. He just didn't do it.
Does he have any type of medical experience?
No, not at all.
So then...
But the thing is, like, you hear people bring that up all the time. But Dennis Rader said in his own words that when he strangled his victims that he didn't know how to do it. He said the reason his victims kept, quote, coming back, so to say, was because he was failing to strangle them correctly. He greatly underestimated how hard it was to strangle someone to death. So it wasn't a matter of him being this super calculated psychopath, but rather he was a complete fucking dumbass that didn't know what he was doing. And I'll definitely, bring it up again when we get into his murders, but I just wanted to throw that in real quick that he didn't do that.
But I mean, how do you really know what you're doing when you're trying to kill someone?
I mean, true, but I guess the only comment I have for that, killing is fucking horrible. All serial killers are horrible. But when you see Dennis and you hear how he went about things, he was so not fucking organized or with it like several other killers are with it. And I hate to put it that way, but he is just the sorriest excuse for a fucking person and a killer. He just did not know what he was doing. Straight up, he did it. And you're going to see that time and time again, the proof that he did not know what he was doing.
Gotcha.
Continuing on, the ring incident with his mom was only the beginning of the bizarre shit that Dennis would do. Aside from torturing animals, he also started developing gradually more intense and violent fantasies involving control, bondage, and asphyxiation. Dennis, as a child, also had an obsession with an actress named Annette Funicello, who was one of the Mouseketeers in the original Mickey Mouse Club series that ran in the 1950s.
Oh, wow.
Dennis was just completely obsessed with her, and he started cutting out pictures of her, and he would draw ropes and other various things over her picture, and then he would, keep it.
Sorry, bro. That's a little fucking weird.
It's a little fucking weird. And as he got older, he started doing this thing where he'd cross-dress in clothing items that he stole from his victims or people's houses, and he would wear them. He would also wear, this, I guess you could call it a woman mask type thing.
Okay.
But he would wear all these garments and nightgowns and underwear and shit, and he would wear the mask, and then he would tie himself up with rope, and he would pose in various positions. He was acting as his victims, basically. He'd even put bags over his head with belts around his neck and just everything. And he would photograph himself, so he could then use these pictures later as a spank bank.
I mean, listen, if cross-dressing is your thing, I mean, clothes are just clothes, right? They don't have a gender. But, if cross-dressing is your thing, then by all means go for it, dude. But this guy in particular, this is kind of fucking weird, bro.
That's what I'm saying about Dennis. You look at that, and it's the cross-dressing is not the weird part of this. It's literally everything else.
Yeah, it's the posing as the victims.
And trying to suffocate himself, and he's posing in these photographs so he can then masturbate to himself.
I just had an image of Dennis Rader with a Walmart bag over his head.
I'm telling you, it's fucked up. I will show you some of these pictures. They're really, really just unsettling.
The vibe is not likable.
And this next part is pretty fucked up, going back, on the story of his childhood. I'm not sure if he was in elementary school or maybe even middle school when this happened, but there was an incident where Dennis was at school and his teacher called him out for misconduct, and he took it personally. He felt like his teacher had humiliated him, essentially. So that same day, Dennis went to her house where he watched her through her window. And when she started to undress, Dennis took out a rope that he brought with him. He tied it around his neck, choking himself. No. And then he masturbated until he climaxed.
No! What?
Yeah. What? And that's also a thing that he did. I mentioned briefly earlier, he developed young. He was tying himself up and masturbating and trying to, choke himself out and crazy shit. So yeah, he went and watched his teacher and he just, did his thing. It's fucking weird. And again, he was young. So he's killing and hanging animals. He's becoming a peeping Tom. He's doing this, stealing women's underwear and trying to tie himself up while wearing things, it's really weird. Shit got weird really quickly. And as Dennis got older, he hid all of this from his parents and his siblings and the few friends that he had. No one knew that he was doing any of this.
Quick side note, there is no kink shaming here, but in this regard, it's really, yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
You're listening to an episode of Gore Report on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of Gore Report.
Yeah, it's definitely all weird. Like, no kink shaming, but you should not be watching people through their windows,
That's creepy.
That's like the first thing. And like, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of elements that like make that weird.
There's a lot of weird here.
Maybe you shouldn't be watching people through their fucking windows, Dennis. Maybe you shouldn't be stealing their underwear and this other weird shit, Dennis. Like, I don't know.
She humiliated me, so let me go hide in the bushes and
tie a rope around my neck and Sparky big time.
Sparky big time.
It's fucking insane, I'm telling you. So, Dennis would go on to graduate from Wichita Heights High School in 1963, and over the next year after that, he worked at a grocery store. In the year 1965, Dennis enrolled in the Kansas Wesleyan College in Salina, which was too far away from Wichita for him to live at home, so he ended up going to this school for 2 semesters, and then he dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
That following summer in 1966, at the age of 21 years old, Dennis joined the U.S. Air Force, and he would serve for 4 years. Now, when Dennis joined the Air Force, he did his basic training out in San Antonio, Texas, and then after that, he spent some time stationed at the Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls. I believe in 1967, he was also stationed in Mobile, Alabama, I think, for 2 years. And from 1968 to 1970, Dennis was actually stationed all over the world in places such as Turkey, Japan, Greece, and even Korea. So yeah, they kind of had him all over the place for a bit.
Man.
During his 4-year service in the Air Force, Dennis received the rank of sergeant, and he also received the Air Force Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Medal, and the Small Arms Expert Marksmanship Medal. Through his service, he upheld a few different duties, but he mainly worked with antenna installations. In the year 1970, Dennis was discharged from active service, and he returned back to Wichita. He was 25 years old when he left the Air Force.
Okay.
Within a year of moving back home to Wichita, Dennis met a woman named Paula Dietz, and they met at the Christ Lutheran Church that he went to. They hit it off pretty quickly, and on May 22nd, 1971, the two got married, and then they moved out to a suburb in Wichita called Park City to settle down. And over time, Dennis and Paula ended up having 2 children together, Brian and Carrie.
Okay.
Over the first 2 years of his marriage, Dennis would work for a supermarket, and he also worked for a short time at the Coleman Company, which was a very large outdoor and camping supply chain in Wichita. In July of 1973, Dennis went on to get his dream job, which was working for an aircraft manufacturing company called Cessna. And Dennis absolutely loved this job, and from what I understand, he did pretty good at it. But he only worked for Cessna for a few months before he was laid off. And this was a huge blow to Dennis. He was extremely angry and upset about losing his job with Cessna. He said in his own words that getting laid off from this job is what motivated him to go through with his first home invasion.
Oh, wow.
He literally broke in to someone's house on the same day he got fired from Cessna. And he claimed that he was angry at the system and he just wanted to do something deviant to release his frustrations, which I honestly think that's a load of bullshit. In my opinion, he was clearly going down a horribly dark path before he got this job at Cessna.
Right.
I think he's just trying to make an excuse for himself by blaming his behavior on him losing his job.
And trying to justify it, yeah.
Exactly. He was very much a monster before any of this happened. Just keep that in mind. So after Cessna, his next job, which he had long-term, was installing home security systems for ADT. Dennis Rader was going into people's homes and installing security systems, and he got this job after he started killing people.
What?
So that's a little scary to think about. Like, the man that this whole community is terrified of is the same man installing security systems into people's homes to keep them safe.
And knowing every single blind spot there is.
Right. And Dennis got a kick out of that. And you'll see as we go forward that he had this thing with trying to fool his victims into thinking they were safe. It's like this whole fucked up thing he had where he loved installing security systems and seeing the layouts of these people's homes because he knew he could then later come back and do what he wanted to do. He just got like a thrill out of it.
That's it. I don't trust anybody.
I'm telling you. And he started working for ADT after he committed his 5th murder in 1974.
Oh my God.
So I'm just throwing that in. But back to that main story. It would be just a few months after getting laid off from Cessna in 1974 that Dennis would commit his first murders. And that's unfortunately what we're about to get into. But before we do, I just want to warn everyone that it is about to be rough, like really, really rough. I don't want any of you going in blind to this. Dennis Rader's first murder was a quadruple homicide.
Damn.
He brutally murdered 4 members of the Otero family, and 2 of the 4 victims were children ages 9 and 11. And it is just brutal. Like, I don't mean brutal as in blood and gore, because Dennis wasn't that type of killer, but like still, it is absolutely evil and barbaric. So I just wanted to let you guys know that before I start telling you everything. This is really not something I want you guys to be blindsided by, because it's that bad. So let me introduce you to the Otero family. They had just moved to Wichita a few months before the murders took place in 1974. The family consisted of Julie Otero, who was 34 at the time, her husband Joseph Otero, who was 38, and their 5 children, Charlie, Danny, Carmen, Joseph Jr., and Josephine. Joseph Otero had worked in the Air Force from the time he was 18 years old, and before he moved his family to Kansas, they were living in Puerto Rico. In 1973, Joseph retired from the Air Force as a master sergeant, and in the fall of that same year, he moved his family out to Wichita. The family lived in a single-family home located at 803 North Edgemore Street, and Dennis watched this family for weeks leading up to when he attacked them. And that's another thing to know about Dennis. When he would stalk his victims, he called it trolling.
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 I trolled.
Literally.
Like,
his whole process of looking for potential victims included prowling, trolling, and then stalking, because he's a fucking loser. So Dennis would often drive his wife Paula to and from work, and one day while he was out driving around, trolling, stupid fuck, he saw Julie Otero, and he became completely infatuated with her, so he started stalking her. He followed her home, saw where she lived, and over a period of several weeks, he watched her and her family. He learned their routines, their schedules, and he slowly started to plan out what he was going to do. Now, his original idea was to only murder Julie. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't plan on committing a quadruple homicide, but he just kind of fumbled into it, and that's what happened.
oh God.
The murders took place on January 15th, 1974. Dennis went to the library early that morning to get the Otero's phone number, and he called them several times before going to their house. He wanted to hear Julie answer the phone to make sure that she was there.
Wow.
And then he arrived at the Otero home a little after 8 in the morning. He did this shit in the morning. Early in the morning, yes. 8 o'clock.
What?
Dennis jumped the fence in the backyard, and as he started approaching the house, he noticed that there were dog paw prints in the snow. And this scared him a little bit because he didn't account for a dog being present.
Mm-hmm.
He considered ditching his plan for a few seconds, but then very sadly, he just continued onward. He'd made up his mind that he was going to go in anyway. He didn't care. And the first thing he did after he made up his mind to go through with this plan was to immediately cut the phone line with a pair of wire cutters. He didn't want Julie calling for help. So Dennis came prepared for the attack. He was wearing his Air Force jacket because he thought that maybe Julie seeing the jacket would make her feel more safe and secure before he killed her. And in his own words, Dennis said, quote, "I had my cords with me. Some were already pre-knotted. I had a gun, a .22 LR Woodsman auto target pistol," end quote. When Dennis enters the house, he realizes that Julie isn't the only one home as he'd hoped. Her husband Joseph was there as well.
Okay.
He had actually taken off of work that day because he had a recent car accident and he cracked one of his ribs pretty badly. So he was at home tending to his ribs and resting. Dennis did not account for that at all. He really only accounted for Julie being there, and not only was Joseph there with Julie, but their two youngest kids, 9-year-old Joseph Jr. and 11-year-old Josephine, were also there as well. Remember, this is happening around 8:30 in the morning, so the two youngest children hadn't gone off to school yet.
Right.
The three older children, Charlie, Danny, and Carmen, they had left to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So they were the only three family members not present in the home, and the extra people being in the home made Dennis panic, so he just kind of wings the rest of it. So Dennis tells them that he's a criminal on the run and that he was in need of some money and food. He wanted to make them all believe that he was just simply going to rob them and not kill them. So he's just playing this really sick game. In his own words, quote, "I told them I needed money and food and was wanted by police. I was AWOL from the Air Force. I located the car keys, purse, and his wallet. They told me the car was empty on gas. I guess they didn't have very much money. Mr. Otero said that I could take the typewriter from the southwest bedroom and hawk it for gas money and to just leave them alone." End quote. So Dennis then forces Joseph to take their dog and put it outside in the snow. The dog was a small short-haired dog named Lucky, and as Joseph was doing this, Dennis had his gun loaded and he was threatening him and Julie to do as he said, kids included. And this is really, really sad to think about, but Joseph Otero was trying his best to get his family to calm down. Like he's telling them, please calm down. Let's do what he says. He won't hurt us. Let's just make it through this together.
Right.
It is fucking sad.
He lulled them into like a false sense of security.
Yes, and that's what he specifically loved to do. He wanted to make these people believe that they were out of harm's way completely when he knew he was going to kill them. That was what he got off on. So Dennis first bound everyone with medical tape, but after everyone started saying that their wrist hurt, he changed the bindings to white clothing line cords, which that's fucking weird too, because it's like he somewhat takes into consideration the comfort of his victims, even though he knows he's going to kill them.
Yeah, I was just thinking that exact thing.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. It touches back on that thing that we just talked about where he wants his victims to feel as if they're not in danger. And it's just so fucked up. Dennis even laid out a pillow and a coat on the floor for Joseph to lay on because Dennis knew he had cracked his ribs.
What?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I don't understand it.
I'm so confused.
So it wasn't long after that before Dennis decided that he was going to gag and strangle everyone to death. Dennis began by taking rope and wrapping it around Joseph's neck, and Joseph goes unconscious. Dennis then moved to Julie, and he said he strangled her until she stopped moving, and then he released pressure. And keep in mind, Joseph Jr. and Josephine are watching all of this happen. They're watching Dennis Rader kill their parents. 11-year-old Josephine was crying, and she asked Dennis, quote, "What's going on?" And Dennis responded to Josephine by saying, quote, "I put your parents to sleep, and you're next," end quote. Dennis then strangled Josephine until she passed out, and by that time, Joseph Jr. started crying, and Joseph and Julie were both waking up because he hadn't killed them. He just made them pass out.
Yeah.
So Dennis takes a plastic bag and he puts it over Joseph Jr.'s head. The entire time he's doing this, Julie is crying and pleading with Dennis for him to stop. She's literally watching her 9-year-old be slowly suffocated to death with a bag. So after Joseph Jr. quit moving, Dennis used a clove hitch knot to strangle Julie Otero to death. Her last words were her telling Dennis, quote, "May God have mercy on your soul," end quote.
I just got fucking chills, bro.
It is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. I hate fucking Dennis Rader. I hate him. After Julie died, Dennis put a flower print pillowcase over her head, and her hands and feet were bound with cord. Dennis then placed a bag over Joseph Otero's head, and he used a belt to wrap around his neck as well to secure the bag in place. And then Dennis grabbed Joseph Jr. and carried him to his bedroom. Dennis placed a second bag over his head, tightening it down with cord, and then he laid this 9-year-old child face down in his bed, and Joseph Jr. suffocated to death within minutes. Dennis went back into the living room to see if Joseph Otero had died, and to Dennis's surprise, he saw that Joseph started trying to bite holes through the bag, and that's not something Dennis had accounted for. So he then placed a t-shirt and then a second bag over Joseph's head, and then he applied pressure with the belt until Joseph died. And the last member of the Otero family that was killed that day was 11-year-old Josephine. And I'm just telling you guys now, this is rough. Like, I genuinely don't want anyone going in blind. Like, I just feel the need to give that warning.
Yeah.
This is horrible. Like, absolutely horrible.
Okay.
Dennis decided that he wanted to hang her. So he made a noose with 4 loops in it, and he began searching the house for a place to attach it. He found a sewer pipe down in the basement. So Dennis hung this noose up by that pipe, and then he went back upstairs to go and get Josephine. When Dennis got to her, she was barely awake. So he picked her up and started carrying her down the stairs. And Dennis said in his own words that as he was doing this, Josephine didn't cry or fight him at all. So when Dennis gets her down to the basement, he takes off her pants and he pulls her underwear down to her ankles. He then lifted her shirt and tore her bra, and then he pulled her shirt back down. After doing all of this, Dennis then used more cord to rebind Josephine's hands and feet. And then he asked her if her parents had a camera anywhere in the house because he wanted to take a picture of her bound up with her underwear dangling at her ankles.
What the fuck?
And after Josephine told Dennis no, that they didn't have a camera, Dennis picked her up and placed her standing on the floor beneath the noose. Josephine, who was crying, scared and confused by everything that was happening, she asked Dennis, quote, "What's going to happen to me?" End quote. And Dennis told her, quote, "Don't worry, sweetheart. You're going to be in heaven with your parents and your brother tonight." End quote. So Dennis said that he was overwhelmed with excitement as Josephine's eyes cried, showing fear and shock. He then lifted this child off of the floor, placed the noose around her neck where he tightened it, and then he dropped her. She was hanging with her toes inches from the floor. And as Josephine hanged, dying, he pulled his pants down and masturbated himself into climax. After Dennis was done, he attempted to clean the house a bit. He stole a watch and a radio from Joseph Otero, and then he made himself a glass of water, and he drank it, and then he rinsed his fucking cup out.
Wow.
He also turned up the thermostat in the home to make it hot. He had read that high temperatures can speed up decomposition, so this was his goal. He was hoping to maybe fuck with the time of death. So this is what he did. And after he turned up the thermostat, he stole the Otero's car and he drove it to a local Dillon's parking lot. But then this fumbling fucking idiot forgot that he left things at the crime scene.
Don't tell me he went back.
Not only did he go back, he went back in his own fucking car. Like, not only did he go back to the crime scene, but he ditched the car that he stole, went and got his own personal vehicle, and then he went back.
What?
Yes. And when he got back, he found the wire cutters in the backyard where he left them. So, like, I mean, he's just a fucking dumbass. After he left the house, Dennis went into the woods where he burned all of his evidence, like his gloves, his written plans for the murder, his cords, just all of it. He burned everything. But burning evidence was for nothing because after he burned the evidence, he created more evidence by writing in detail the events of the Otero murders in his journal.
What? Wow.
Again, I'm not kidding. He's a fucking idiot. And he explained way later to police that his fantasy was to enslave the Oteros in the afterlife. He said he wanted Julie and Joseph to be his servants, while Josephine and Joseph Jr. would be his sex slaves. And that's fucking disturbing in itself. But the thing that bothers me the most about all of this is that after Dennis brutally murdered the Oteros, including 2 children, he cleaned up, went home to his wife and his child, and acted like nothing happened. Dennis and Paula already had Brian at this point because he was born in 1973 and their second child, Carrie, was born in 1978. So he just got to go home and he was being a dad and a husband within hours of brutally killing these people and their children. And that makes me infuriated. Like,
that
infuriated
is so
is not even the
disgusting.
word. So continuing on with what happened after the Otero murders, and this is just fucking sad. Like, I cannot even tell you the amount of tears that I shed over this. But Julie and Joseph, they were found by their 3 surviving children.
Oh, yeah, because they were at school.
They were at school when everything happened, right? So when they got home, they found their parents the exact way that Dennis had left them. And it is heartbreaking.
Oh my God, and they had to find everybody like that.
So the oldest, 15-year-old Charlie Otero, was the last of the 3 surviving kids to make it home that day. And when he got home, he was immediately off-put because he saw that the garage was open and his mom's car was gone, which was very unusual for that time of day. And when Charlie walked around back, he saw that their dog Lucky was outside in the snow. And Lucky was strictly an indoor dog. Like, this poor dog did not do good outside in the cold.
Yeah.
So Charlie just panicked. He's wondering who in the hell put their dog outside. And the vibes only got more sinister when he entered the house. Charlie immediately notices upon entering the home that his mother's purse and his dad's wallet are just strewn everywhere. Like, the contents are just all over the counters. And Charlie knew this wasn't like his mom at all. Julie and Joseph were both very, very neat and tidy people, so things being thrown over the countertops was just something that did not happen.
Right, it was out of the norm.
That was way out of the norm. Julie nor Joseph would ever just strew their shit everywhere. That's just not how they lived. And while Charlie is processing this, he's trying to figure out what's going on. He hears one of his siblings call out to him. Remember, Charlie was the last one home that day, so his younger siblings, Danny and Carmen, had gotten there before he did. Charlie hears Carmen say, quote, "Charlie, please, please come quick. Mom and Dad are playing a bad joke on us," end quote.
Oh my God.
So Charlie runs down the hall to his parents' bedroom, and this is where he sees his father, Joseph Otero, on the ground. His hands and feet are bound with clothing line cord. He has a belt tightly wrapped around his neck with a bag over his head. And Charlie also sees his mom, Julie. She was laying face down on the bed, also bound at the hands and feet. She had clothing line cord wrapped tightly around her neck, and a flower print pillowcase was over her head. So Charlie and his 2 younger siblings saw their parents like this. And I don't even know how to begin to imagine what this did to these poor kids.
Yeah.
Charlie Otero is quoted saying, quote, "I ran down the hall, went into their bedroom and saw my mother on the bed, my father on the floor, and my heart just got ripped out of my chest. My life changed instantly. When I looked at my mother, she was tied up. It didn't even look like my mother. My dad's tongue was halfway bit off. He had a belt around his neck, and my mom was beaten. Her nails were busted up and they were cold. We tried to get the ligatures undone, the belt undone, and then I realized this was for nothing and I had to get my brother and sister out of the house," end quote. Charlie tried calling the police, but the phone line had been cut. So 14-year-old Danny Otero ran to the neighbor's house, crying and screaming, begging them to call the police. And when officers arrived on scene, Charlie, Danny, and Carmen were all in their front yard, screaming and crying.
Oh my God.
And at this point, Charlie, Danny, nor Carmen knew that Josephine and Joseph Jr. had also been murdered. They didn't find them. They just found their parents. They thought it was only their parents that were killed.
Yeah.
And Charlie even told the officers when they got there that he didn't know where his 2 youngest siblings were. So the officers went inside, and that's where they also found Joseph Jr., and then they found Josephine in the basement. She was still dangling above the ground by a rope when she was found. And I say this very loosely because I don't think there's a way you could say luckily in this situation, but I am happy that Charlie or Danny or Carmen, I'm glad they didn't find Josephine or Joseph Jr.
Yeah, I'm really glad they didn't find them either.
Finding your parents in that way is already bad enough, but just thinking about what would have happened to them had they found their younger siblings, especially Josephine.
Yeah.
I just don't even know. Like, that is just fucking horrific to think about. And these crimes absolutely shocked this whole city. In 1974, when these murders happened, violent crime was almost unheard of in this area. This was a time where people left their doors unlocked at night and neighbors could just go into your house and it was fine, you know? So for a quadruple homicide this brutal to happen is just unheard of.
I mean, a quadruple is just unheard
That's
of,
rare in
period.
itself,
Yeah.
but especially in this time, 1974 in Kansas, like this whole town was just terrified.
The 70s were filled with serial killers.
Right.
And I could imagine, like, you think that you're safe because all the serial killers are like in California or whatever.
But when it happens in your home near you, it's a whole different, whole different level.
That's so devastating.
So this whole town was just terrified. That sense of safety and security that everyone had was ripped away immediately.
Oh my God. So if the security is out of the fucking window, everybody's going to want ADT. No.
You have a little bit of intuition into this case.
Oh no. And that was not a fact that I knew or, I did not know this. I literally just
You're
guessed
getting
this.
the picture.
No,
You're getting the picture.
No.
So Charlie Otero, I want to talk about him for a second. He had a very rough time after this happened. I mean, imaginably.
Of course.
I'm sure all of the surviving children did, but Charlie was just destroyed. He was the oldest. So I felt like that he just kind of took on a different kind of burden with all of it because he was the oldest.
He immediately had to grow up.
And you have to keep in mind, too, that these murders went unsolved for 30 years. Charlie and his siblings went 3 decades without knowing who murdered their family. Like, no justice, no nothing. Just your parents and your 2 siblings are brutally murdered, and then 30 years, you know nothing.
You have absolutely no answers.
Charlie, in recent years, has been very outspoken about his life and the things that he went through as a result of everything. And he lived a tough life for a while. Like, he went way off track. There was some substance abuse going on. He also was dealing with paranoia. I mean,
who could blame him?
He became convinced that whoever had killed his family was going to come back and finish the job. Like, he became consumed in that this mystery person had just brutally killed his family.
I mean, that's understandable to think that, though.
So he's like, are they going to come back and get me? And this ate him for years. Like, it's so heartbreaking. And even though he did have a rough period of his life, I am happy to say that Charlie Otero did make a comeback. And eventually he took up with his faith and he turned his life around and he learned how to deal with his grieving and his pain. And that's just, it's inspiring and it's amazing and I'm happy for him, but it also still just breaks my heart because like he didn't deserve that.
He shouldn't have had to go through any of that.
He shouldn't have had to get stronger from that. Like he should have just been able to live happily with his family. And that's just, it makes me sad, but I did want to point that out that, Charlie Otero has done several televised interviews on YouTube talking about his experience and how he had to cope with this. So if you ever want to like check any of that out, it's actually really, really like, it's cool. It's really cool to see that he took something so horrible and eventually he turned his life and his family, into the driving force of his life.
Yes.
And I think that's just so amazing. So moving forward, after the Otero murders, Dennis absolutely immersed himself in the media coverage of it. He was watching everything unfold on the news. He was just soaking the shit up, stroking his ego. He loved watching the whole city of Wichita become consumed in fear and panic. He even started saving newspaper clippings regarding the Otero murders. He would start cutting them out and collecting them, and he kind of made this makeshift scrapbook type thing that he called his hidey hole. Or his hidey hole file.
Hidey hole and Sparky Bang.
Sparky big time.
Sparky big time. Excuse me.
Motherfucking hidey hole.
Hidey hole.
Like, do I even need to comment on that? No, actually I don't. I'm gonna continue before I go off on like a fucking wild
like a 3-minute
rant.
tangent, yeah.
Within 2 months of committing the Otero murders, Dennis was already prowling and trolling for his next victim. He was just up and ready to go and kill someone else. And get this shit, hoo-wee, he took it upon himself to start strengthening his hands.
Oh my God.
He really wanted to strengthen his hands, because if you remember what I said way in the intro, Dennis didn't know what the fuck he was doing when he murdered the Oteros. He hadn't quite learned how to strangle someone to death quickly.
So he was like, oh, my hands need to be stronger.
Right. He greatly underestimated just how hard the job was. So, he had Julie and Joseph Otero pass out and wake up a couple of times before he successfully killed them. And when the officers processed that scene, They saw all of these strangulation marks on the necks of Julie and Joseph, and they're freaking out thinking, holy shit, this guy was strangling and reviving and then strangling and reviving these people for hours. He was torturing them.
Yeah.
That's what the media ran with, but that's not what happened. He he didn't know how to do it. He was a fucking idiot.
More sensationalism.
So after the Otero murders, he started planning how he could make his next murder go more smoothly. So he's like, maybe if my hands were just a little stronger. If my hands were just a little stronger, I could strangle everyone quicker. That has to be the key.
That has to be it.
So this stupid fuck started obsessively using stress balls to try and make his hands stronger. And yes, you heard me right. Not lifting weights, not working out, not any of that. Squeezing motherfucking stress balls all of the time. He was just squeezing them. Do you not get the vibe how enraged I am at this motherfucker? Like how much I genuinely cannot stand him.
Oh my God, not the stress ball.
He's just walking around squeezing them. Just like, I got to get my hands stronger. I got to strengthen my hands. Like, let me not exercise or build muscle the right fucking way and actually be smart about it. I'm just going to strengthen my hands by squeezing stress balls. Like, I'm done. I'm so done.
I'm going to exercise my whole arm by just squeezing my hand.
I'm done. I'm so done with him.
You're listening to an episode of Gore Report on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of Gore Report.
So Dennis started prowling and trolling again by March of 1974. The Otero murders happened in January. So like I said earlier, not even 2 months after that, and he's already on the search. He started regularly sneaking into other houses in the neighborhood where he would watch women through their windows. This is something he did pretty much his whole life. But yeah, he's prowling. He really wanted to find another victim, or project, as he liked to call his potential victims, because again, he's a fucking loser. Projects.
What are we fucking DIYing here? Like what?
I'm telling you, like you don't even know. Like this is, baby, we are on the ocean, miles away from this iceberg that we will eventually be at the tip of. That is where we're at in this story.
Can we see the iceberg from this point?
A little, but not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just need to know how close we are to impact.
We got a ways to go, baby.
Because I have to find a flotation device for mine asshole.
Yes.
For mine asshole.
Absolutely. You're definitely going to need that. So going back to what I was saying.
Asshole overboard.
Dennis really wanted to make sure that he could confidently learn the layout of whichever house he was going to invade. He also wanted to make sure that there were no men present because, he was caught way off guard by Joseph Otero being home with Julie the day he killed them, so he did not want that happening again.
Yeah.
Dennis eventually spotted 21-year-old Catherine Bright. He described her as a, quote, dishwater blonde who fit his fantasy profile perfectly. And, how rude is that?
Fantasy profile?
Yes. And dishwater blonde. He described this girl as a dishwater blonde because he's a rude, stupid fuck. So Catherine was checking her mailbox when Dennis saw her. He just happened to be sneaking around people's houses that night, and very sadly, she became his next target. Something else that made Dennis officially decide to kill Catherine was the fact that her home address and street name had the number 3 in it. And Dennis really liked the number 3. Her address was 2317 East 13th Street. So he was like, oh yeah, man, she's dishwater blonde and there's 3s. It's a sign. I gotta kill her. This is it.
Did it happen at 333?
It did not, but I'm pretty sure his stupid ass tried to plan for that, the dumb fuck.
Oh my God, the universe is giving me a sign.
So for several days, Dennis drove by Catherine's house repeatedly, learning her routine, learning the layout of things, just, everything. And he was still just a squeezing his stress balls. Dennis named his plan for this murder Project Lights Out.
Oh my. Okay, this is just sounding like a really bad sitcom where the writers are just going left field.
I'm telling you.
This.
But very sadly, this is real. He thought he was just so badass. Project Lights Out.
Project
I'm done.
Lights Out.
I'm done. I promise you he was squeezing them stress balls when he came up with that shit. So Dennis confirmed based on a few days of watching Catherine that she more than likely lived alone because he didn't see a man at the property. So this made him even more excited. He just had this whole thing going in his head, and in his own words, quote, "I was feeling really good about this one," end quote. So now let's go to the day of April 4th, 1974. Very, very sadly, this is the day that Dennis chose to murder Catherine. That day, he had class. And I actually think I left this out of the introduction, but in the fall of 1973, Dennis started attending the Wichita State University. So he was still a student at the time of both the Otero murders and the murder of Catherine Bright.
Oh my.
So he had class that day, and when he got out of class, he drove to a local shopping center where he changed his clothes into an outfit that he pre-packed. Then he drove his car back towards the Wichita State University. He parked, and then he walked to Catherine's house. And he had a hit kit with him. He liked to call his murders hits. So his little pre-packed thing was a hit kit. Like, I'm fucking telling you. So in this hit kit, Dennis had 2 knives, a .357 Magnum with extra bullets, a black ski mask, a gray cap, some books, and some sort of like over-the-shoulder holster for his gun. Because he wanted to wear it over his shoulder to like, I don't even fucking know, but this is what he had, okay? He was going to wear this hat and carry his books and stuff, and he was going to knock on the door pretending to be some sort of student looking for his tutor's house. He was going to knock and pull the whole, "Oh, you know, I'm just a student passing by, I'm looking for my tutor, is this the right address?" type shit. That was his original plan. But when he got to Catherine's house, he noticed that she wasn't there. So instead of waiting around, he decided to break in through the back door and wait for her. So once he gets in, he starts walking around. He's trying to figure out how he's going to do everything. And then all of a sudden, he hears a car pull into the driveway. So he goes to look, and he sees Catherine walking towards the house with a male. So Dennis fucking panicked because, again, he was not prepared for this. He did not expect a male to be there. And this male just happened to be Catherine's little brother, 19-year-old Kevin Bright. As soon as Catherine and Kevin opened the door to the home, Dennis confronted them by putting a gun in their face. He was just in panic mode entirely. He said, "Fuck the plan, fuck Project Lights Out. This is just what I'm going to do." He just
sounds like he's one of those people that like sings his own theme song in his head when he's like doing shit.
Literally. Literally. That's literally what he does.
Like, what the fuck?
So Dennis pulled the same shit with Kevin and Catherine that he pulled with the Oteros. He tells them that he's a criminal on the run from California and that he just needed money and a car. So Dennis forced Catherine and Kevin into one of the back bedrooms, and he forced Kevin to tie Catherine up with her own scarves from her drawer. And then Dennis ties Kevin to a bedpost. After that, he takes Catherine into another room and he finishes tying her up and he fastens her to a chair. So Catherine and Kevin are in 2 different rooms now. And Dennis also turned up the radio really loud to drown out any possible screaming. So Dennis first went to strangle Kevin because his goal was to get him out of the way so he could have more time to be creative with Catherine. So as Dennis begins to strangle Kevin, Kevin breaks his bindings and he starts fighting Dennis back. A physical struggle ensued, but Dennis quickly grabbed his handgun and he shot Kevin in the head. And he hit the floor and quit moving. So Dennis went back to check on Catherine after that, and he noticed that she also started getting out of her bindings and she was starting to put up a fight too. So while Dennis is trying to restrain Catherine, he all of a sudden hears Kevin moving in the other room.
What?
He was still alive, and he got up and went right back to fighting Dennis.
Oh my God.
Kevin actually managed to get one of Dennis's guns away from him, but when he tried to shoot Dennis, the gun was jammed. And this gave Dennis, I know, it breaks my heart, and this gave Dennis just enough time to shoot Kevin a second time in his mouth.
No.
He again fell to the ground, blood went everywhere, and some of Kevin's teeth flew out of his head with the bullet. Catherine is now screaming hysterically. Dennis is panicking. He's just trying to get the shit over with. So he quickly takes out one of his knives an 8-inch hunting knife, and he started stabbing Catherine to death.
Oh my God.
Now get this fucking shit. Okay, are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
As Dennis is stabbing Catherine, Kevin got up and ran out of the house to get help.
Oh, what?
This kid has been shot in the head twice, and he ran outside to get help. He survived.
I literally just fucking froze. Like,
Chills.
The imagery.
Yeah, chills. It's absolutely fucking incredible. Like, it's unheard of.
I mean, that's a miracle. I'm sorry, but that's a miracle.
It is crazy. He got shot twice, and he tried fighting Dennis twice to save his sister. Like, what a badass. Like, what a complete badass. Once Dennis saw Kevin run out the door, he started flipping shit. So he stopped stabbing Catherine. He grabbed her driver's license so he could put it in his hidey hole. And then he attempted to steal Kevin's truck. But he grabbed the wrong fucking keys because he's an idiot. When he got outside, he realized that he grabbed Catherine's keys and not Kevin's. So Dennis ran to his own car, got in it, and he drove off. Dennis managed to make it home where he cleaned himself up, and he was just chilling and just seeming all normal and stuff when his wife got home like nothing ever happened.
How the fuck do you do that? Like, how do you do that? How?
It's insane. It is really insane. So back at the Bright scene, Catherine was left bleeding out and tied up. When Kevin ran out of the house, he managed to call police, and when officers got to the scene, they immediately rushed to Catherine, and they were able to get some information from her, but she was losing lots of blood. She suffered 11 stab wounds with a 8-inch hunting knife. So her and Kevin were both rushed to the hospital, and very sadly, Catherine Bright passed away in the middle of her surgery. She was only 21 years old. Kevin Bright miraculously survived the attack, though. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks before he was released. Like, again, just what a fucking badass. But also, I cannot imagine the pain and the survivor's guilt that he must have felt losing his sister in such a horrible way. And I mean, he fought to save her. He was fighting for her life and his life. Like, he fought through being shot twice in his head.
Yeah.
Like, that is just absolutely insane. And to know that he fought so hard and watched what happened to his sister happen, and then for her to die, my heart just absolutely breaks for him and her, for everybody. I just... Oh,
man,
Dennis,
yeah.
I fucking hate you.
I know, like, you hear me over here just going like that, but like I am literally trying to regulate right now.
Yeah, it's
tapping
insane.
is not working.
It is insane. And Catherine Bright would be the only person that Dennis stabbed to death. He was not a fan of the mess it created, so he promised himself that when he went to kill again, that he would never use another knife. And it's like, wow, Dennis, you're such a fucking outstanding individual. Like, holy shit, good on you.
Good job.
I'm glad that's what you took away from that. Like, I don't know, did you think maybe you just shouldn't fucking kill people, period? But, you know, whatever. And this next part is fucking wild to me. And it really goes to show just how fucking childish and narcissistic Dennis is. But in the months after the murder of Catherine Bright in October of 1974, there were some people coming to the police claiming to have some information regarding the Otero murders. There were some people coming in and, you know, giving false leads, as people usually do. And when Dennis found out about this, he was furious because he didn't want anyone getting credit for his crimes. He had to have the credit for what he did.
Wow.
So Dennis plants a note at the local library. Then he called a man named Don Granger, who was working for the Wichita Eagle newspaper. Mm-hmm. And Dennis tells Don that if he looks in the library in a engineering textbook called Applied Engineering Mechanics, that he would find a letter with clues in it regarding the Oteros. So Don immediately contacted the police, told them about the call, and the police go to the library to get this book. And sure enough, there's a letter in it. And I'm going to read it to you. And I will say now there are a lot of grammatical errors because Dennis is a fucking idiot, but I'm going to read it word for word, so bear with me. Okay. I'm just going to read it straight to you. Are you ready?
Yeah, okay, lay it on me.
Quote, I write this letter to you for the sake of the taxpayer as well as your time. Those 3 dude you have in custody are just talking to get publicity for the Otero murders. They know nothing at all. I did it by myself with no one's help. There has been no talk either, so let's put this straight. Then Dennis proceeds to describe the Otero murders in horrific detail. He talks about everything, from what he did to them to how he left them, and the letter continues. He continues, quote, "I'm sorry this happened to society. They are the ones who suffer the most. It hard to control myself. You probably call me psychotic with sexual perversion hang-up. When this monster enter my brain, I will never know, but it here to stay. How does one cure himself? If you ask for help that you have killed 4 people, they will laugh or hit the panic button and call the cops. I can't stop it, so the monster goes on and hurt me as well as society. Society can be thankful that there are ways for people like me to relieve myself at time by daydreams of some victims being torture and being mine. It a big complicated game, my friend, of the monster play, putting victims number down, follow them, checking up on them, waiting in the dark, waiting. The pressure is great, and sometimes he run the game to his liking. Maybe you can stop him. I can't. He has already chosen his next victim or victims. I don't know who they are yet. The next day after I read the paper, I will know, but it too late. Good luck hunting. P.S. Since sex criminals do not change their MO or by nature cannot do so, I will not change mine. The code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them. BTK. You see, he added again. They will be on the next victim. End quote.
I had
a fucking aneurysm? Same.
I had a stroke trying to keep up with that.
You guys listening, if you need to rewind that and listen to it again just to take it in, then by all means do it. I struggled reading that.
Like,
illiterate is not even the word for this fucking idiot. Like, I cannot start roasting him. I just can't.
Well, baby, where the hell did your S's go?
That is what I'm saying. Like, the illiteracy is insane. Although I did read that he typed this on a typewriter and maybe he just wasn't good at typing.
He added again.
Yeah, you see he added again.
He added again.
That shit fucking killed me.
What the fuck?
So at this point, the city of Wichita is in complete fear-driven panic. People are losing their minds. As I said in the beginning of this episode, it wasn't long after this, as you said, that Dennis started working for ADT Security because after the Otero murders, people were really wanting security systems. So that's what he did. He just started installing the security systems during the peak of everyone's panic. He was really getting off on the irony of it that the person that these people were terrified of and were trying to protect themselves against was him, and he was the one installing their safety measures. He just got the biggest kick out of that.
So it's so unoriginal that I was able to call it about.
You literally guessed it.
I literally called it.
You saw it. Yes, I'm telling you.
Called it.
So Dennis just laid back. He did his security job. None of his coworkers liked him. Evidently, he was just existing. It wouldn't be until 2 years later that he killed his 6th victim, which that in itself, if you look at it, is kind of scary because it's one of the things that make him highly unusual as a case. He's an outlier in this way because he can just turn it on and off. He can control his impulses. Like, he kills 5 people within 4 months and then he just stops for 2 years and doesn't do anything and has no problem. That is scary as fuck.
Right.
That is truly scary. So it was on March 17th, 1977 that Rader murdered a mom of 3, 24-year-old Shirley Vian. Before Shirley, Dennis had tried stalking and murdering another woman named Cheryl, but luckily she wasn't home when Dennis went to her house and he didn't want to wait around. So he was pissed off and he just went to the next one.
Uh-huh. He didn't want to wait around because he was like, she gonna bring another dude home, watch.
Right, I'm telling you, he was just like, no, I'm not fucking with it. So he left her house and he went to the next one. So Dennis, after the attempt at Cheryl, that not working out, he started walking down Hydraulic Street to see if he could troll someone else. Oh, God. And while walking, Dennis sees a 5-year-old boy walking home. This boy's name was Steve Rilford, and he was one of Shirley's children. So Dennis goes up to Steve, and he shows him a picture of his own wife and his own child. And then he asked Steve if he had seen them. Like, Dennis is using his own family picture in his murder plan. Like, I just cannot fucking believe that shit. And Steve...
Fresh on audacity.
I'm telling you. And Steve, of course, didn't know who Dennis's wife or kid was, so he said no, and he kept walking, but that's what Dennis wanted. He made the interaction, and now he's watching this kid go home, and he saw which house he went to, and Dennis was thinking, oh, good golly, oh my, this boy just has to have a mother. So he gambled it. Minutes later, Dennis shows up to Steve's house. He knocked on the door. Steve answered, the same little boy from before, and Dennis was pretending to be a detective, and he just forced himself in. Steve also had 2 siblings, an older brother that was 8 and a younger sister that was 4. So these kids have no idea what's going on. This man literally just walks into their house. And the mother, Shirley Vian, she heard all of the commotion and she went into the living room to see what was going on. She had been home sick that day. And when she came out of her room, she was wearing a nightgown and bathrobe. In Rader's own words, quote, I told her that I had a problem with sexual fantasies and I was going to tie her up. I pulled the blinds and turned off the TV. I said that I would tie the kids up first. They would be okay if she cooperated with me, end quote.
That is so sick.
Dennis then goes on to describe how Shirley was very, very upset. And at one point, she even smoked a cigarette trying to calm herself down. Dennis tried tying up one of her sons, but he started crying and screaming, and this irritated Dennis, like, a lot. So he forced all 3 kids into the bathroom together. And to keep the door shut, he forced Shirley to help him scoot a bed against the outside of the door so they couldn't get out. And it turns out as well, Dennis made Shirley put some blankets and toys in the bathroom beforehand. And then they put the kids in there. Dennis also said the entire time that this was happening, Shirley was crying and pleading with her kids to listen to Dennis. She was just begging them, like, please listen to me. Please go in here. I'll be back. He's not going to hurt you. You know, we'll be fine.
God.
And that breaks my fucking heart to pieces. Absolute pieces. After the bathroom door was secure, Dennis said that Shirley threw up. And then he began tying her up. Going back to that weird thing he does where he oddly pretends to give a fuck about the comfort of his victims, he went and got a glass of water for Shirley to drink after she threw up to help her feel better and more comfortable throughout the experience of her being killed.
Oh, gee, thanks.
And then after that, he taped her hands behind her back, laid her face down on the bed. He tied her legs to the bedpost, and then he wrapped white cord up her legs and her entire body. He bound her entire body with cord, like from her ankles up to her neck. After wrapping her feet all the way up her body, the cord that he had left at the end, he wrapped around her neck 4 times. He placed a bag over her head and he strangled her to death. And as this is happening, her 3 kids are stuck in the bathroom, beating on the door, screaming and crying for their mom, not knowing that she was being murdered. Dennis even recalled himself that the kids were specifically screaming at him to leave their mom alone. And
I just want to rip this dude's fucking face off.
Yeah, it's really bad. And Dennis shouted back at them that if they didn't shut up, he'd fucking shoot them. Dennis also commented later that he thought about hanging all 3 of Shirley's kids in the same manner that he had hanged Josephine Otero, but he was pressed for time and the phone started ringing and this scared him, so he ended up stealing Shirley's underwear and then he left. He left her 3 kids in that bathroom screaming and crying. Some time went by and Steve, the 5-year-old, and his older brother, who was 8, they managed to break a window and they escaped the bathroom and they ran to the neighbor's house and got them to call the police. When officers arrived on scene, they found Shirley naked and dead, laying face down on her bed. She had black tape around her ankles and hands. The white cord that was wrapped around her neck, as I said earlier, was wrapped down her entire body to her feet, and then she was tied to the bedpost. She was just completely bound. She also had a bag over her head and her underwear was laying next to her on the bed, and there was semen on them. And although all of her children survived, they were all really young and beyond traumatized. So they unfortunately couldn't help the police with any details regarding a possible suspect. And I mean, I don't know how anyone could just come back from that. Like, these poor fucking kids, to just have their mother so horribly ripped away from them. And they were locked in a bathroom where they had to hear it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, as I said with the Otero murders, there was no closure of any kind for these children for decades. Her children just grew up wondering who killed their mom. They're like, who is this strange man that just came in and literally locked me in a bathroom and murdered my mom? Like, I cannot. And that is an aspect of all of these murders that really breaks my heart, is knowing that these children, now adults, had to wait so long to learn the truth of what happened.
Yeah.
I just don't even know what to make of that.
Like, do you, at that point, like, is it relief that you feel, or is it just more...
a whole nother layer of anger and not understanding? Like, I don't even know. I just don't even know. And to make this whole thing even more twisted and to show you just how much of a fucking idiot he is, Dennis wrote a poem about Shirley Vian shortly after he killed her in the year 1978. And that's something that you're going to see with Dennis. Mm-hmm. He likes writing poems, even though he fucking sucks at it. So,
I mean, he obviously sucks at writing letters.
He sucks at everything. He literally sucks at everything. So the poem he wrote about Shirley, I'm going to read it to you. It's called Shirley Locks.
This man, okay, Shirley Locks, Heidi Hole, Sparky Big Time.
Yes. Don't forget Project Lights Out.
Project Lights Out. How could I forget?
Oh, and also let me throw this, since we're on the rant of his like stupid names. Later in this case, you'll see that when he refers to the thing inside of him that makes him kill, he calls it Factor X.
Listen, thank you guys for tuning in. It's been fun.
If you would like to follow us. Oh, I wish that was the case, but it's not.
I'm fucking done, bro.
So Shirley Locks, quote.
Shirley Locks.
Quote, Shirley Locks, wilt thou be mine? Thou shalt not scream, not yet fill the line, but lay on a cushion and think of me in death and how it's gonna be, end quote. What a loser. And that is not the end of his poems either. Like, I have some more poems in this episode, and there's going to be one in part 2. So, like, we're not done reading his poetry. Just buckle up. So, after the murder of Shirley Vian, it took Dennis almost 9 months to pick his next victim. He was out trolling one day, and he happened to see 25-year-old Nancy Fox. Her address was 843 South Pershing Street. And she
Another 3.
Yes. And she had just gotten home. Dennis saw her. He immediately became infatuated with her. And he decided then and there that Nancy was going to be his next hit. And just like you said, he really loved the whole number 3 thing. He's really just with it. So over the next few weeks after he spotted Nancy, he checked her mail to see her name and where she worked. He was just going, through all of her letters and stuff to get as much information as possible. He also just straight up stalked her, clearly. He would ride by her house often. He followed her to her place of work, which Nancy worked at a jewelry store in Wichita. He just started slowly but surely making plans. And he also called his plan to kill Nancy, quote, PJ Fox, which meant Project Fox.
Yeah, again, another like fuckery name. This is I think the first fuckboy serial killer that we have come across.
I mean, it's pretty bad. I don't even know if there's not really a word for this.
Definitely not the first fuckboy serial killer, but
he's the stupidest. That's for fucking sure.
So fucking stupid.
So on the night of December 8th, 1977, Dennis would put his plan into action and he would commit his 7th murder. That evening, Dennis knew that Nancy hadn't arrived home yet, so he went to her house and went around back and he started making preparations. He started by cutting her phone line with wire cutters. He then broke into her house through one of the windows. And something else to note here too, Dennis had practiced this. In between his murders, when he wasn't squeezing his fucking stress balls like the little stupid fuck that he is, he would use a glass cutter on various panes of glass to like practice like getting in a window, basically. Like he was wanting to make sure that he could break into a window or a door as smoothly as possible. Dennis described in his own words that he received a great deal of excitement and pleasure when breaking into someone's home. He described it as a particularly thrilling form of mental rape. And in his own words, quote, "On a B," which means breaking and entering, "there's a powerful feeling as you enter someone's territory. The smell and fixtures surround you, and there are unexplored parts of the house with treasures to find and keep. It is a violation to them, yes. It's a sort of mental rape. I can completely understand why burglars are so attracted to it," end quote.
So, like, this whole thing sounds like a really, really bad B-rated Mission Impossible movie.
Right. It really, really does. But on the flip
With all
side
the
of that,
code names
and you know, let me just make the note real quick. I said it in the intro. I cannot help but roast Dennis Rader. I absolutely hate him. Like, he gets under my skin more than I think any other killer. Like, truly he does. But roasting aside, I don't want to take away from what he did, because is he a fumbling idiot? Yes. But is he also holy, like, fucking shit terrifying?
Yes.
Yes, he is. Like, it absolutely is. So I just wanted to make that note real quick. He is stupid, and I'm going to continue to make fun of him, but this was a scary motherfucker. Like, this was truly a scary, scary, scary man. Stupid, but very scary and no less evil or brutal. You know what I'm saying?
How could you not listen to this and not make fun of it? Just...
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Like, he, on the same note of him being a complete dumbass and just we can make fun of that all day long, he's also an extremely unusual case. Like,
Right.
Extremely unusual. Like, way, way fucking beyond in how he thinks and processes this shit. It really is fascinating.
You're listening to an episode of Gore Report on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of Gore Report.
Going back to Nancy Fox, he successfully broke into her home through her window, and then he just kind of sat in her kitchen and waited for her. And that
Ew.
is absolutely terrifying. And again, he enjoyed a glass of water while he was waiting. Because as I've said like 3 times, that's just something he likes to do. It gave him this feeling that he was just doing something that he shouldn't be doing, and he enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you dirtied a dish.
Right, I'm telling you, Jesus, I have to really reel myself back. I have to reel it back. So when Nancy returned home, she was confronted by Dennis telling her that he was struggling with some sexual issues. And he said that he just needed to tie her up, have sex with her, take some photos of the whole thing so he could beat off later, and then he'd just be on his way. Again, he's displaying this uber fucked up thing where he loves to make his victims feel as if they're out of harm's way. I know I've said that a couple of times, but I can't help but bring it up because he does it every time.
Yeah.
He loved making his victims believe that he wasn't going to kill them, even though he most definitely was. So he did this to Nancy, and he told her that he wouldn't kill her if she cooperated. So according to Dennis, Nancy was like very, very upset when he told her this. I mean, what else did you fucking think was going to happen, Dennis?
Right.
I don't know. So he sat her down at the table, and Nancy started smoking a cigarette. And he started trying to have a conversation with her in order to, like, reel her back in and calm her down. And he kept telling her that he wasn't going to kill her. Dennis also went through her purse and got her driver's license because he wanted another trophy for his hidey hole.
God, I can never
Cannot get over
that.
that, I'm telling you. And after a few minutes, and this next part gives me chills, like, completely. But after a few minutes of talking with Dennis, Nancy took one last drag from her cigarette and she told him, quote, "Well, let's just go ahead and get this over with so I can call the police," end quote. So, like, with that, she's a bad bitch because, you know, she's just like, let me hit this cigarette, fuck you, guy, let's just get it over with, and then we'll, you know, I'll call the cops on you and we'll go about our day. Like, what a bad bitch. But it's also very sad and chilling because you think about from her perspective, she genuinely thought that this was going to be a situation in which this guy just did what he was going to do. It wasn't going to be fun, but she was going to walk away with her life.
Right.
And she was going to just, you know, call the police on him, continue on about her life. Basically, she had no idea that she was minutes away from death. And that is just, it makes me sad. It makes me incredibly sad. So after this, Dennis forced Nancy to go to the bathroom to undress, but he forced her to keep the door open so he could watch what she was doing. And Dennis also undressed himself at the same time. So here's a little bit of fucking awful imagery for you. He's just standing there naked, waiting for her, which, like, oh my fucking God, ew. Like, ew. Ew. I literally, that just makes me want to jump out of my fucking skin. So when Nancy came out of the bathroom, she was completely nude except for a sweater she was wearing. And when Dennis told her to remove it, she asked him, quote, "Please let me wear it. Don't make me take it off," end quote. And Dennis agreed. And Nancy also asked if the bedroom door could stay open. And Dennis also honored that request. In his mind, he's just this super great good guy who makes people feel comfortable before he brutally fucking kills them. Like, again, you deserve a medal, Dennis. Holy shit. So according to Dennis, he asked Nancy if she had ever done anal before. And this evidently made her panic. So when Nancy started panicking, instead of just continuing his ruse that he was going to just have sex with her and then leave, he decided to show his true intentions. He handcuffed Nancy, climbed on top of her, and then he started strangling her to death with a leather belt. And according to Dennis, in his own words, when he confessed this to police later, he said that as he strangled Nancy, he whispered things in her ear. In his own words, quote, "Fox passed out, but I had her come back and I whispered in her ear a bit. I told her that I was BTK. I was a bad guy. This was the torture thing. You can visualize being tied up and knowing that something is going to happen to you and you can do nothing. That's my torture," end quote. Now, whether that actually happened or not, I don't know, but that's what Dennis said. It could very much be true, but it also could be him just trying to, appear
Make
more
himself seem
a little more threatening and macho than he actually is, but nonetheless, that is what Dennis claimed, and that's fucking bone chilling. After Nancy passed out, Dennis removed her handcuffs and then he retied her hands with her own pantyhose, and he did the same with her neck. He removed the belt and then replaced the belt with pantyhose. He really wanted that aesthetic of pantyhose for his photos instead of the cords and the belt and all that crazy shit and the handcuffs. And as Nancy lay on the bed dying, Dennis went through her house to look for trophies. He took some jewelry, her driver's license, and he made himself another glass of water before he turned the thermostat up and left.
Damn. This is like the thirstiest motherfucker we've ever covered.
Right. And get this shit. And this blew my fucking mind. But Dennis admitted later that he thought about giving Nancy's jewelry to his wife for her to wear.
Oh my God. No.
Did you not just get like the chills through your whole body?
No. Oh,
he
God.
brutally killed this girl and was going to take her jewelry and give it to his wife. And he also said in his own words that he could have possibly at some point given the jewelry to his young daughter, Carrie, to wear. Like,
I'm so grossed out.
How fucked up is that? But in his mind, that would be like the greatest thing, because that's like his sick way of reliving it. He's seeing his wife or his daughter wear this jewelry from someone that he brutally fucking killed. Yeah. So in his way, that's like a sick, twisted way that he just gets to relive it every day. So like, just let that sink in. Like, can you imagine? So
my God.
Dennis, he went home after murdering Nancy. He went home to his wife and his kids, and he pretended again as if nothing had happened. And the next day around 8:15 a.m., Dennis was just teeming with excitement. He couldn't wait to see the news coverage on Nancy's homicide. And he was thinking that it was taking too long for someone to discover her body organically. So he was like, I just can't take it anymore. I got to like speed this up a little.
Oh my God. So he contacts the police again?
Yeah, you guessed it. So he's at breakfast with his coworkers. He slips off and he uses a payphone and he calls the police to tell them about the murder of Nancy Fox. Now, I really wanted to include his call in this episode for you guys to hear, like the actual audio of it, but there just isn't any clean audio for me to do that. Like nothing that's near high quality enough. It's an old phone call recording and it's hard to make out unless you have captions or something. Mm-hmm. So I just thought it would be pointless because you quite literally can hardly hear it. So I unfortunately did not include that today, but if you would like to go and listen to that phone call, it's really easy to find on YouTube, and you can actually see the captions for it, and you'll take it in a lot better than what I could do if I put it here.
Right.
But yeah, Dennis calls 911 and he tells them, quote, "You will find a homicide at 834 South Pershing. It's Nancy Fox," end quote. Then he drops the phone and walks off. So that's chilling as fuck that this man literally called and reported his own murder. Even though the call was recorded, authorities were unable to match it with anything. They still couldn't identify who this person was. And keep in mind, too, that we are in the 1970s.
Yeah.
So technology and DNA and forensics and just all that stuff was nowhere near like it is today. So nothing happened. The media coverage on the Nancy Fox murder didn't please Dennis at all either. It wasn't near as big and flashy as he thought it was going to be, and he got butthurt about that.
Wow.
So just 3 weeks later, in January 1978, Dennis mailed a copy of his Shirley Locke's poem to the Wichita Eagle. He wanted to antagonize the authorities a little bit, so he mailed that poem, and nothing happened. He didn't get a response, and he got way even more butthurt after that. He's like, "Y'all are ignoring me?"
Oh my God.
No.
No.
And
I wrote you a poem?
I deserve a response. I deserve a response.
And I deserve a good response, too. It better be good.
That's literally his attitude. So, like, when he didn't get a response for this poem, about a month later, February 10th, 1978, he decided to write a 4-page letter to the Wichita Eagle, as well as the local news station in Wichita called KAKE TV, or Cake TV, I guess you could call it. I'm not sure.
I like Cake TV.
But in this letter, Dennis talked about how he murdered the Oteros, along with Shirley Vian and Nancy Fox. And he even alluded to another murder that he committed that was unidentified, but we know now that he's talking about Catherine Bright.
Right.
He just didn't name her in this letter, but he inserted himself into it, if that makes sense. He included a drawing of a woman who was bound and gagged, which I believe this was him drawing Nancy. And he also provided a shit ton of information regarding all of the crime scenes, like how all of the bodies were found, how they died, information
just
that only the killer
that
would
he
have.
Was there,
right.
Yeah.
And he also included another poem.
All right, lay it on me.
And this one was about Nancy, and he called it "Oh Death to Nancy." And I'm going to read that poem for you now. So, quote, "What is that I can see? Cold icy hands taking hold of me. For death has come, you all can see. Hell has opened its gate to trick me. Oh death, oh death, can't you spare me over for another year? I'll stuff your jaws till you can't talk. I'll bind your legs till you can't walk. I'll tie your hands till you can't make a stand. And finally, I'll close your eyes so you can't see. I'll bring sexual death unto you for me. Signed, BTK."
So he literally took the song "Oh Death."
Yes,
You know what I'm
literally,
talking about?
yes. That's literally what he
Oh,
did. That's
death.
literally what he did.
Right? So he took that song and he made a fucking BTK parody and then mailed it to the fucking authorities.
Yes. Yes. He damn sure did, because he was butthurt that they didn't respond to him. That is literally what he did. And also, let me say, too,
I'm sorry, but I'm laughing because
of how stupid he is. No, trust me. It's insane. He's a child. Like, it is insane. You have every right to laugh at that because he's just so stupid.
Okay.
He's so stupid. And also, get this, in the letter he sent, he made it a point to say that he wasn't satisfied with the media coverage on his latest crimes. He even said, quote, "A paragraph would have been enough. How many people do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention?" End quote.
Wow.
And at the end of this letter, this shit is going to take you. It took me. But at the end of this letter, Dennis states that he wanted to be known as BTK. Bind them, torture them, kill them. but he also included some backup options just in case the police didn't like BTK.
Oh my God. So like Project fucking Lights Out. But
So literally he was like, yeah, so this is me. I'm BTK. I do BTK things. So just call me that if you would, please. I really like that one. But also, if those options aren't chill and you don't like it, I provided a list of backup names so you can like choose one. Okay, thanks. Just let me know what you decide. I'll be here. That's literally what he did. That is literally what he did. And do you want to know what these backup names were? Would you like to hear them? Like, this is shit you can't make up. Would you like to know his backup options?
I mean, it can't get any better than Sparky Big Time or PJ Fox.
It gets better. It gets better.
Oh,
do
God.
you want to hear his backup names?
Okay. What's the backup names?
So the first one is the BTK Strangler, which is dumb as fuck because that's literally bind, torture, kill, strangler. Which that doesn't make any fucking sense. The Poetic Strangler.
Oh, because we have to get philosophical with it.
The Asphyxiator. The Bondage Psycho or the Bondage Strangler. The Wichita Executioner. And my two personal favorites, the Wichita Hangman and the Garrote Phantom.
Motherfucker didn't even use a garrote and he just wants them to... That's like
the Garrote Phantom.
The Garrote Phantom. That's like going to your fucking boss and being like, hey, bro, I know I have all these responsibilities, but like, could you give me a better title?
Yeah, he was literally like, I just got this list, but like, if you would, I like BTK, but just let me know what you think, though.
Yeah. And you know what? You can actually brainstorm on those names and get back to me with which ones you like.
Either way, I deserve a name. Okay, thanks. Sign, Dennis. He's really so stupid, but he genuinely really did that shit. Like, I will forever just be done with this man. I can't. Where we left off in part 1, Dennis had murdered Nancy Fox in her home. And when the publicity wasn't as flashy as he wanted it to be, he sent a copy of his Shirley Locke's poem to the Wichita Eagle, only to get no response. And if we've learned anything about Dennis Rader at this point, it's that he loves publicity. He loves attention.
I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing about like that fact, but I was laughing at the fact that like you can't even do that right.
Yeah, he just got no response and got just so butthurt over it. He really, really loved attention. You're just going to see that time and time again. So when he didn't get a response from this, it led him to send another one of his letters to the Wichita Eagle and to the Cake TV news station. In this 4-page letter, he included horrific details regarding the murders of the Oteros, Shirley Vian, and Nancy. He included a picture of a bound and gagged woman, and let's not forget about his next wonderful poem that he included, Ode Death to Nancy.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he was
he was like ripping off the song "Oh Death."
Yes, he was really trying to get some sort of reaction. So during the next 8 years after he murdered Nancy, as I said, Dennis quit killing. And I brought this up in part 1, how that's one of the many things that makes Dennis such an unusual case. Like, he truly is an outlier in this way. He could control his impulses, and he did for very long stretches of time. So you look at killers such as Bundy, Gacy, Dahmer, and you see at some point they couldn't control the urge to kill. Eventually they got sloppy because that urge was just too overbearing.
Right.
And that's not the case with Dennis. He just stopped, and he didn't seem to struggle with it too much.
And that is the scariest thing in the world to me.
It is very scary, if not, the scariest. That scary thing being that someone that has this much of a psychopathic, homicidal personality, someone that's truly violent and evil, in my opinion,
right.
They have that side of themselves and they do this crazy shit, but then they can walk right back into normal life, mundane life. and they can function and put on this totally different face.
A mask.
A mask, basically. And that is really, really scary. Like, that's something that really terrifies me about killers, about people that do things like this that off and on. It's crazy. And I also brought this up in part 1 briefly, where I talked about how Dennis would dress himself up in clothing items such as nightgowns, women's underwear, wigs, clothes that he stole from his victims and random people's houses. He also had a, quote, woman's mask that he'd put makeup on. He'd wear all of these things and then he would bind himself with rope. He'd put bags over his head and gags in his mouth, and he would pose in various positions. And he had a Polaroid camera that had a squeezy ball attachment. Like,
oh, yeah, like okay, so if you don't know what he's talking about, basically it's like a shutter that you click.
And it takes the picture.
Yeah.
Right. But he had this, and when he would pose himself, he would keep the squeezy ball in his hand and he would hide it, within the rope or something like that, and he would take pictures of himself.
Oh.
I actually thought about posting some of those photos of Dennis for you guys to see, but ultimately I decided against it. I just feel like they're too much. They're definitely a little explicit, and in the context of who he is and what he did, it's very, very disturbing. So if you want to find those photos for yourself, it's not hard to find. I didn't think it would be appropriate for me to post something like that, so we're not going to do that. And on the topic of those pictures, Catherine Ramsland said herself, which, if you don't remember who she is from part 1, she is a serial killer expert. She's a forensic psychologist and a criminal justice professor at DeSales University. And she worked with Dennis for a very long time academically, studying him and trying to understand what made him do what he did.
Right.
So I just wanted to briefly recap if you forgot who she was. But Catherine Ramsland said herself that when Dennis would pose and take these photos, that he was basically embodying his victims. He wanted to pose in the place of a victim. And according to Ramsland, Dennis said that when he did this, that it helped him curb his homicidal impulses. So during the long periods of time when he wasn't killing, he was sneaking around his wife's back and taking these pictures. And he was, of course, still stalking and trolling, but he didn't kill.
But see, that's interesting because him dressing up like that is his own way of revisiting crime scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quite literally, he wanted to put himself in the place of a victim. So you're right about that. It's kind of like he was reliving it in a lot of fucked up ways. When Dennis murdered Nancy Fox, it was December of 1977. That following year in 1978, his second child, Carrie, was born. So Dennis said in his own words that fatherhood was a big factor in why he stopped killing for so many years. Dennis really liked his identity as a father and a husband, so that's where he put his time. Even though he didn't kill anyone from 1978 to 1985, it doesn't mean that he didn't try. So 1979 was a busy year for Dennis. Between being a father, husband, and a student, his plate was full. 1979 was also the year that Dennis Rader graduated from Wichita State University, where he studied criminal justice. Which, fun fact, Dennis used what he learned studying criminal justice to try and help him with his serial killing. He studied the forensic part of things, how officers processed crime scenes, what they looked for, things like that.
Right.
He used that knowledge to his advantage.
Oh, that's even scarier. You got a serial killer arming himself with tomes of knowledge.
I'm telling you, it's so just fucked. All of this is fucked. So the next person in this story I want to introduce you to is Anna Williams. She was 63 years old, and on April 28th, 1979, Anna attended a square dance in town, and then she stopped by her daughter's house for some time to see her before she went home. And when she got home, she saw that someone had clearly broken into her house. She saw that her phone lines were cut. There were a few different wires and cords laying around, and it just completely scared the shit out of her. I mean, like it would anyone.
Anyone, yeah.
Little did she know that her taking the extra time to go and see her daughter for a few hours that evening saved her life. Literally.
Oh, man.
And on that day of April 28th, Dennis had been watching her, so he decided to break into her home when she wasn't there. Dennis was hoping that Anna would be his 8th victim. So he breaks in, cuts the phone lines, sets everything up, and then he just sits in her house in the dark. Just waiting for her to come home.
Oh, no. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm telling you. But after several hours of just sitting in the empty house without her coming, Dennis grew impatient and agitated, and he just said fuck it and left. So again, her making that extra stop literally saved her life.
I am forever visiting all of my friends before I go home. What the hell?
I'm telling you.
What?
So 2 months after that, in June of 1979, Anna received a package that was made out to her deceased husband. And in this package, she found a piece of jewelry and a scarf that belonged to her, like from her house.
Ooh, I don't like this.
Right. She also found drawings of several bound and gagged women. And in this package, can you take a guess at what Dennis left? Just take a guess.
I don't know, the female mask or something?
Another wonderful poem.
Oh, God.
Dennis wrote a poem to Anna titled, quote, "Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear?" End quote.
What?
I told you we weren't done reading his poetry.
What?
Like, we are not done reading his poems.
That's like, oh, where'd you go?
It's literally so dumb. So I'm going to read this poem to you. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, you know, with a title like that, how could it not be ridiculous?
I'm telling you, you are just, I cannot even describe it.
Why didn't you appear?
So the poem, "Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? 'Twas perfect plan of deviant pleasure so bold on that spring night. My inner feeling hot with propension of the new awakening season. Warm with inner fear and rapture, my pleasure of entanglement like new vines at night. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Drop of fear, fresh spring rain would roll down from your nakedness to scent to lofty fever that burns within. In that small world of longing, fear, rapture, and desperation, the game we play fall on devil's ears. Fantasy spring forth, mounts to storm fury, then winter clam at the end. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Alone, now in another time span, I lay with my sweet and rapture garments across most private thought. Bed of spring moist grass, clean before the sun, enslaved with control, warm winds scenting the air, sunlight sparkled tears in eyes so deep and clear. Alone again I trod and passed memory of mirrors, and ponder why for number 8 was not. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear?
I didn't understand a fucking word, but it was terrifying the entire time. Was he using big words just because he wanted to sound smart?
You said first thing about that poem, I understood fucking nothing. Second thing about that poem, it was awful.
It was awful.
Yeah, it's definitely a terrible, terrible poem, and I can't stand it. So Dennis had broke into this woman's home, waited for hours, steals some of her jewelry and a scarf, which he then mails back to her 2 months later along with this poem.
Could you imagine standing there reading this cacophony of fuck all? Like,
is cacophony a word?
Oh, yeah.
That is such a fascinating sounding word. What does that mean? I need to know.
It was really just like the only word that I could think of that described that poem. But yes, I can tell you what it means.
Do tell.
Hey, Siri.
Hi there.
What does cacophony mean?
Cacophony means a harsh, discordant mixture of sounds.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely what that poem was, I think. That's definitely what that was, a cacophony.
Yeah.
We all just learned a new word.
Yeah, well, I I can tell you big words like cacophony, but I have the mind of a goldfish, and I had to ask Siri what the definition was. So, take from it what you will.
And it touches on just another thing, another part of Rader's psyche. Even when he didn't actually kill people, he still got the utmost satisfaction out of mentally torturing people. Him sending this woman her own stuff, along with a poem he wrote about why she didn't appear to him, he just got the biggest thrill out of that. He knew that this was, of course, going to absolutely scare the shit out of this woman, and he took pride in it.
Audacity on sale.
At that point, he didn't even care that he didn't kill her. He was just taking pleasure in terrorizing her. That same package that he sent to Anna, he sent copies of the same poem and drawings to Cake TV. He wanted both Anna and the news station to receive his poem and drawings.
That is like I said, Audacity is definitely on sale.
You have no idea. You have no idea. So in 1983, when Dennis was 38 years old, his then 10-year-old son Brian became a Boy Scout, and Dennis became a Scout leader. And Dennis used his position as a Scout leader to sneak out and troll. This little tidbit of information is going to come back around, I promise, so just keep that in your mind.
Okay.
Within 2 years after becoming a Scout leader in 1985, Dennis decided who his next victim was going to be, and it was one of his neighbors.
Oh, no.
53-year-old Maureen Hedge. Dennis and Maureen had lived on the same block for several years at this point, and one day Dennis was just out and about trolling, and he noticed Maureen in her garden, tending to her flowers. And Dennis had this bright just click in his brain that he also loved gardening, and he just decided right then and there that he had to kill her.
What? Okay, we went from interest to murder.
Yes. He said himself that as he watched Maureen tending to her flower bed, that he imagined his hands around her throat, and that was just all he needed. He got excited and he started planning, and it's very sad. Dennis even recalled that oftentimes he would walk by Maureen's house and just smile and wave at her. Oh yeah, and he called this plan, quote, Project Deflower, which he made up because of the way he noticed her tending to her flowers, and he also liked gardening.
Get the fuck out of here. I'm going home.
Right. It is absolutely just horrible.
I guess the story is just shocking to me, and he is disgusting to me because it's just the sheer mixture of violence and sex against women.
I mean, we've touched on that many times. That seems to be a common theme with most killers, but I mean, it's awful. He literally saw this woman who was his neighbor, and just because of this,
she wasn't doing anything but,
just because of this weird gardening thing, he just saw her tending to flowers. He imagined strangling her, and that was all he needed to fixate on her. And if there's one thing to know about Dennis Rader, if he fixated on you, you were done. That was it. Like, he made up his mind right then and there, and he was going to kill you.
Fuck.
You're listening to an episode of Gore Report on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of Gore Report.
Dennis noticed after some stalking that Maureen seemed to live alone, although she did have a male friend that would come visit her often. He just didn't live at the house, but he was in and out quite a bit. And very sadly, on April 27th, 1985, Dennis claimed the life of his 8th victim.
Fuck.
That day, Dennis was at a scout meeting with the Boy Scouts. And that evening, he told the other scout leaders that he had to go to bed early that night because he was having a headache. But Dennis actually didn't go to bed early that night. And I don't know if this is going to surprise you or not, but he lied. He lied.
He lied. He fucking lied.
Instead of going to bed early, Dennis actually drove to a bowling alley. He had parked his car at the top of a hill that was near the scout camp so he could leave and come back unnoticed. He got to his car. He changed out of his scout leader uniform into some casual clothes. He pretended to bowl for a bit, and then he got a beer. He swished the beer in his mouth, spit some of it on his shirt, and even splashed a little on his face because he was trying to make himself appear as if he was drunk. So after doing all of this, he called a cab to come and pick him up. Again, he's just trying to come across as this really super drunk guy who was bowling and just needed a ride home. So he takes a cab, And halfway through the ride, Dennis tells the driver that he needed to get out and get some air and walk the drunk off, basically. So the cab stopped, let him out, and Dennis walked to Maureen's house. When he gets to her place, he sees that she's not there, so he goes ahead and he cuts the phone line and he breaks in. And within minutes of him being in her house, he hears a car pull up in the driveway. He looks out and sees that it's Maureen and her male friend that I talked about earlier. His name is Gerald Porter.
Oh my God.
So Dennis runs into one of the bedrooms and he hides inside the fucking closet.
No.
How scary is that?
What is this, a horror movie?
Right. So Maureen gets home. She has Gerald with her. They're talking, hanging out, just enjoying their time together in her home. And neither of them knew that Dennis Rader was watching them from the closet. That absolutely just makes me fucking sick to think about. And he was in the closet for a good bit of time too. After Maureen got home, her and Gerald hung out for over an hour and then he left. Maureen then sat up for a bit. She got ready for bed, went to her room, and eventually fell asleep. And Dennis was watching her this entire time, just sitting and waiting.
My asshole is gone.
He waited for a bit of time after she fell asleep to make sure that she was asleep. And then he just walks into her room and turns her bathroom light on. Which this made Maureen wake up and scream immediately. And that just hurts my soul because I just could not imagine being woken up in the middle of the night because a stranger turned on my fucking bathroom light. Like that is so scary.
Especially like when you live at home alone.
Right. And then on top of that, she recognized him.
Yeah.
So it's just like this whole bundle of like, what the fuck is going on? So Maureen freaked out. She woke up, she's screaming. And before she can even react or get out of bed or do anything, Dennis ran, jumped on top of her, and he strangled her to death with his hands, with his bare hands. After Dennis killed Maureen, he stripped her naked and he placed her body on a blanket, and he also handcuffed her hands behind her back. He went and got a glass of water because we all know that's his thing. He loves to drink a glass of water at the crimes.
What a thirsty ass bitch.
And then he stole Maureen's driver's license for his hidey hole.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the fucking hidey hole.
And then he came up with a great idea all of a sudden. He decided that with this murder, he wanted to change his MO a bit. This time, he wanted to take the body out of the house. So he put Maureen's body in the trunk of her own car, and he took her to the Christ Lutheran Church. And this shit stain also said later that moving a dead body was way harder than he thought it would be. He said in his own words, quote, "This was the first time I had ever actually moved a body. I worried about my back as I lifted her out of the trunk." End quote.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're worried about your back, Dennis. That's fucking great. So since Dennis was a well-represented and active member of the Christ Lutheran Church, he had keys to the church. So Dennis took Maureen into the basement of the church, and he posed her body in various positions where he could then take several pictures of her. And get this shit, Dennis made it a point later to say that even though he murdered this woman and took her body into the church basement, that he still didn't disrespect God. He said, quote, "I did not use the altar. I was bad and disturbed, but I still had respect for some items of God's house." End quote.
What?
Like, whoa. That shit almost made my heart stop. I was just like, Dennis, like, where the fuck is your mind at, my guy? Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Like, what do you mean you didn't use the altar, therefore you still respect God? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
You brought a dead body in a church, bro.
Right.
You killed someone and brought their body to the church.
Oh, but he's still a great, outstanding citizen because he didn't use the altar.
I'm telling you.
He didn't use the altar.
I wonder if he prayed afterward.
That's the key. You can't use the altar. That's the loophole.
Fuck.
So after Dennis posed Maureen in all of these different positions and he took all of these pictures of her in the basement of this church, he loads her body back up and then he dumps her in a ditch on a dirt road that was a few miles from where she lived. Dennis then abandoned her car at the bowling alley he went to beforehand. He grabbed his own car and he went back to the scout camp. Because let me remind you, just in case you forgot, he did all of this during a Boy Scout trip that he was supposed to help chaperone.
And he was just like, I'm going to dip out for a couple hours.
Yeah, and he went and did all of that and then came back.
God. So what did he do with, like, the clothes?
He changed.
He changed back into, like, the Boy Scout outfit,
Yes.
and he went back.
Yes. Like nothing happened. You're absolutely correct. So the next day after that, when Maureen didn't go into work, a welfare check was called in for her. And when officers got to the home, they found that Maureen and her car were nowhere to be found. So this sparked a really big search. Maureen's car was found at a bowling alley soon after she was reported missing, and her body was found in a ditch on May 5th, 1985, just a few days after she was killed.
Oh, my God.
After this murder, Dennis didn't write into the police or the Wichita Eagle. He didn't write one of his fancy schmancy poems.
That's shocking.
Yeah, he didn't want to attract attention to himself because Maureen was his neighbor. So he didn't want to insert himself in any way to her murder because he didn't want a full-blown BTK investigation happening right down from his house.
That's why he changed his MO.
It was too close to home. Like, literally too close to home. So he stayed quiet after this one. And unfortunately, him switching up his MO like that and not writing the authorities or, just doing any of his usual things, it threw the police for a loop.
Right. They didn't think it was BTK because the MO is different.
Right. There were some officers that commented that BTK was in the back of their minds when it came to a possible suspect for this crime because he hadn't yet been caught, obviously. But since everything was just so different to the known BTK murders, they didn't suspect him. Instead, Maureen's friend, Gerald Porter, became the prime suspect because to the knowledge of the police, he was the last person to see her alive.
Oh, my God. So he even had a scapegoat. Do you think he planned that?
Knowing Dennis, I honestly don't think he did because he just fumbled into everything that he did. I truly don't think he thought that far ahead, but unfortunately, that's how it worked out, and it's very fucked up.
Man.
On September 16th, 1986, Dennis claimed the life of his ninth victim, 28-year-old mother of two, Vicki Wegerle. Dennis had watched Vicki for weeks before he killed her. He loved the fact that her front porch was kind of closed off and it didn't really show her front door, so that kind of made him excited. But he also loved the fact that Vicki played piano, because oftentimes while walking past her house, he would hear a piano playing, and he loved the music, so he fixated on her super heavily, and he called this his PJ project.
I'm so sick of your fucking
Bullshit.
projects.
I'm telling you. Around 10 a.m. on the day of September 16th, 1986, Dennis dressed himself up as a telephone repairman. He made his own logo. He had a helmet, vest, fake tools, everything. He really put a lot of effort into this. So he knocked on Vicki's door. She answered. Dennis asked if he could test her phone lines, and she let him in. She had her toddler in a playpen in the living room.
No.
I believe the baby was around 2 years old. So Dennis comes in, Vicki shows him where the phone is, and he takes out a fake tool that he had, and he pretended to mess with the phone line for a bit. And Dennis said that after Vicki looked away to check on her child,
He cut it.
he pulled out his .25 caliber handgun and he pointed it at her. And when Vicki saw the gun, she immediately started crying and freaking out. I mean, understandably. Vicki told Dennis that her husband was going to be back any minute because he was supposed to be home for his lunch break. And Vicki also asked what he was planning to do with her child. Because again, this poor 2-year-old is just in this playpen watching all of this happen. And her first thought was immediately, what the fuck are you going to do to my kid? Sad. Very sad. At gunpoint, Dennis forced Vicki into the back bedroom and he told her that he was going to tie her up. And according to Dennis, Vicki fought him hard. Very hard. She was actually able to scratch Dennis up pretty badly. She got him across his nose and everything.
Good.
She really put up a fight. And even though Vicki was trying her hardest, and I hate this so much, but Dennis unfortunately overpowered her. He grabbed a nylon stocking that belonged to Vicki and he wrapped it around her neck, strangling her to death. And he did this in broad daylight, like 10, 11 in the morning.
Oh my.
He also opened up her blouse and pulled her pants down after she died, and he took a couple of photos with his camera. Dennis stole some things from the house, including Vicki's driver's license for his hidey hole, and then he left to go back to work. Vicky's child was left in the playpen crying, only feet away from Vicky's body. And I hate this, but when Vicky told Dennis that her husband was going to be home soon, it turns out that wasn't a bluff, that was the truth. So Bill Wegerle was the one to come into their home. He found his child screaming in the playpen and his wife dead with stocking wrapped around her throat. He frantically got the stocking out from around her neck, and then he called 911. And sadly, just like in the case of Maureen Hedge, Bill Wegerle became the main suspect in Vicky's murder for some time.
Oh my God.
Dennis yet again got away with murder. And just like he did again with the Maureen Hedge murder, he stayed quiet after this one. No letters, no poems, no mail to the police or news station, none of that. And this helped him elude police, unfortunately. And after he murdered Vicky, Dennis stopped killing for another 5 years. But 2 years after the murder of Vicky, in 1988, Dennis got laid off from his job at ADT Security. Dennis tried to become a police officer, but every single department rejected him. So he went on...
Oh, wait. Hold on. I gotta rethink that for a second. You have a serial killer wanting to become a cop.
Yeah, he wanted to abuse that power. That was something Dennis will tell you he wanted to do. He wanted to be in law enforcement.
Constantly abusing power.
He wanted to have that power over people.
Oh, it just gets worse.
So he tried to become a police officer. All of the departments rejected him. They were like, fuck you, no. So after that, he went on to work as a census field operations supervisor for the census department in Wichita. And this job allowed him to travel a lot. He was out of town all the time, and he was basically living in hotels. So Dennis used this abundance of alone time to have what he called motel parties. Basically, he had dolls that he would practice tying up. He would do this whole erotic asphyxiation thing on himself. He was wearing his mask, his nightgowns, and underwear, and he was tying himself up with rope, tape, handcuffing himself, just all of this crazy shit. And he was taking photos of himself while doing all of this. Like, very fucking weird. He was having lots of motel parties. Like, he did this by himself. Dennis ended up losing his job at the census department in the summer of 1990. And this kind of left him feeling belittled and butthurt. And he went back to trolling and prowling. Only this time, Dennis decided that he wanted to target an older woman. He felt as if younger women put up more of a fight, and he also thought that younger women were more likely to have husbands at home, which he didn't want. So he set his sights on 62-year-old Dolores Davis. She would be the 10th and final victim of Dennis Rader. Dolores worked as an executive secretary in Wichita for several years, and then she moved out to the Park City area where Dennis lived. So while Dennis was out and about trolling, he spotted her, fixated on her, and that was it. He started planning. And for the second time, he used the Boy Scouts to help him commit this murder. Over the weekend of January 19th, 1991, the Scouts were having an annual winter campout event at Harvey County Park West, and Dennis was chaperoning as one of the Scout leaders. Dennis said that he made it to camp early that day to set everything up, and then when the other Scout leaders and the Scouts and everyone started arriving, he said he had another headache and that he had to leave to go back into town to pick up some things, and he left. So after he left the camp, he drove out to his parents' house in North Wichita. His parents weren't home because they were on vacation, so Dennis used their house to change out of his Scout leader getup into what he called his hit clothes. He then drove his car to a local Baptist church. He parked, and then he set out on foot to the home of Dolores Davis. And it was after 11 p.m. that he got there. Dolores had just gotten home not long before Dennis got there because she had a dinner date with the guy she was talking to.
Fuck.
So Dennis just waited outside of her house watching her. And he watched her until she went to sleep, and then he waited for some time after that again to make sure that she was asleep. But this time he didn't break into the house with normal methods, like the things that he usually did. He took a totally different approach.
Okay.
He was rushed for time because he knew that he had to get back to the Scout camp, so he decided, oh, well, I know just the way to make this a lot quicker and more efficient. He walked around her house until he found a cement block. And then he chunked it through her patio door, busting the glass.
Oh.
He just threw this block through this woman's door. Like, did not give a fuck. Did not give a fuck.
Wow.
The crash from the glass breaking caused Dolores to get up, and she rushed to the door to see what happened.
Yeah.
Initially, it was so loud she thought that a car had crashed into her house, but that wasn't the case. She was instead confronted by Dennis Rader, and he was saying the same exact shit to her that he had used countless times before. He said that he was a criminal on the run and that he needed food and money. He forced her into her own bedroom, and he attempted to have conversation with her to calm her down, which, surprise, didn't fucking work.
So
Imagine
he
that,
tried
Dennis.
to go right back to the comfort tactics.
Yes, absolutely. So Dolores tried fighting Dennis off, but he overpowered her. Again, this poor woman was 62 years old. Like,
Yeah.
I just hate this man. I hate him so fucking much. But he overpowered her. He snatched her phone line out of the wall, and then he laid her on her stomach, and then he tied her hands to her ankles, and he strangled her to death with her own pantyhose. Dennis claimed that the entire time he was doing this, that all Dolores could do was cry and beg him not to kill her. After Dennis killed Dolores, he was in a hurry, so he didn't take any photos of her at that moment. Instead, he loaded her up into the trunk of her own car, and then he took her and dumped her near a lake. Dennis noticed after he dumped Dolores that he didn't have his gun on him, just like he did with the Oteros. He left it at the crime scene. So he went back to her house, found his gun, stole some personal things such as some clothing, a camera, a jewelry box, and her driver's license for his hidey hole. And then he went back to her body, loaded her up in the trunk again, and dumped her under a bridge in Sedgwick County. And then he returned to the scout camp as if nothing happened.
Wow.
It would be the next day that a missing persons report for Dolores Davis was put in by her boyfriend, the guy she was seeing.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about the low commentary, but I am so blown.
Yeah,
Like,
it's insane. It is insane. It is fucking insane. Like,
Man.
as stupid as he is, and as much as we can roast him, and as much as I will roast him, he was fucking scary. Like, this shit is truly scary. The
Gage.
fact that he just casually is just out here doing this shit.
Gage, I did not find a car seat for my asshole. It's gone. It's on the other side of the interstate. It got ejected.
Right. I'm struggling pretty bad too. I
It's
promise.
just gone. I need compensation for my ass.
The very next night after he did all of that, murdered Dolores and then dumped her at a lake, went back to her house, got his
Right.
gun, dumped her under a bridge. That next night, he snuck out of the camp again to go and photograph Dolores's body. He said that he had a headache yet again and he just had to leave, so everyone let him go. And on his way back to the scout camp from photographing Dolores, he stopped at a rest stop to change his clothes. And while doing this, a state trooper came into the rest stop and he stopped Dennis and asked a couple of questions. He was like, you know, there was a crime nearby that happened. We're looking for people who may have something to do with it, people that are a little suspicious. And Dennis described in his own words that this experience scared the shit out of him because he thought that was the moment he was going to get caught.
Yeah.
He, at that moment when this happened, he had Dolores's jewelry box and clothes and
her
camera
license.
in his car.
Yeah.
So if that trooper would have asked to see his car and search his car, he would have been fucked right then and there. But Dennis explained that he was a scout leader on his way back to the scout camp thing that he was chaperoning and that his son was a Boy Scout, and the trooper let him go. He was like, you know what? Clearly you're not anybody we're looking for. So they let him go.
You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever seen the movie The House That Jack Built?
I haven't actually.
This whole story reminds me of that movie. If you haven't seen that movie, please go watch it. It's amazing, but
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen
this
it.
whole story screams The House That Jack Built.
We might have to watch that after we're done with this, maybe, if you want.
For sure. For sure, because it's a great movie.
So yeah, Dennis had this encounter with the state trooper. They let him go and he went back to the scout camp, pretending that nothing had happened. So in the years after murdering Dolores, Dennis stayed busy upholding his seemingly normal facade. He continued to raise his children. He continued working for the Scouts. He continued being a member of Christ Lutheran, just all of it. Just a few months after murdering Dolores in 1991, he got a new job as a compliance officer in Park City, and he kept this job up until his arrest in 2005. And there are many locals from Park City in that time period that can today recall how much of a dick officer Dennis was. Him getting this compliance officer job really satisfied his ego, even if it was very minor things, because a compliance officer is like someone who enforces local code.
Yeah.
You know, like he was going around
Code
enforcement basically, but that didn't matter to Dennis. In his mind, he was now a part of law enforcement, even though he wasn't an actual police officer. So he had this little bit of power to abuse, and he became a complete dick about it. And there's so many people that can recall that. It made Dennis feel superior to everyone else. And evidently, Dennis was such a fucking asshole that several people ended up moving out of Park City completely. It was that bad. He was going around to people's yards, measuring their grass with a fucking ruler, and then writing citations. Like shit like that, just being a complete fucking dick.
Yeah,
like complete dick.
Again, it's the superiority, God complex, narcissistic fucking...
It's crazy. He really loved going around making sure grass was cut. He loved it.
I mean...
But even though Dennis had his plate full with being a compliance officer, plus a husband, plus a dad, plus a scout leader, he still used what little free time he had to prowl and troll.
What the fuck does this guy's schedule look like?
Right. He was still picking out projects. He was still stalking people and even breaking into homes during this time. He just didn't actually kill anyone else after Dolores.
Like, breakfast with the wife and kids, go out stalking and trolling, maybe some B&E, breaking and entering, maybe some cutting some phone lines, I don't know.
Go back home for lunch, make sure everybody's chill, like I'm telling you.
Right, and then go back out and auto-asphyxiate or whatever the fuck you're doing.
Having motel parties, squeezing my stress balls, strengthening my hands. Crazy shit. So from 1991 to 2004, he just kind of remained under the radar. He was just living his life, just kind of, taking it back a little bit. So continuing on, January 15th, 2004, that marked the 30th anniversary of the Otero family murders. And on that day, the Wichita Eagle ran an article in their newspaper about a book that was being written about the unsolved BTK murders. This book was by an author named Robert Beatty. I think that last name I got right. But this book was supposed to cover 7 murders. But Dennis saw this and it angered him because he knew he had killed more than 7 people.
Right.
And he didn't want anyone telling his story wrong. He didn't want anyone miscrediting him.
Nah, if you're going to tell my story, you're going to tell all of it.
But also, he just didn't want anyone telling his story, period. He wanted to tell it himself. So this temper tantrum led Dennis to send a package to the Wichita Eagle. And this was his first correspondence with the Wichita Eagle in 25 years. The period of time between him sending this to when he sent his last poem, 25 years.
Could you imagine, going 25 years and BTK has just disappeared?
People think he's disappeared and people are trying to calm down.
People think he's caught.
And then he comes back up like, hey,
like
motherfuckers.
The boogeyman.
Literally. And people refer to Dennis as the boogeyman. I don't remember what his name was, but one of the officers on this documentary I was watching, he said himself that, if you grew up in Kansas in the 70s and 80s, you didn't have the boogeyman, you had BTK, which is fucking chilling.
My mom told me that she even remembers BTK.
Right. So going back, this package he sent, this was his first communication in 25 years.
Right.
People were freaking the fuck out. He mailed the package on March 17th, 2004 using an undercover name, Bill Thomas Killman.
This is like a bad fucking movie, bro. This is so bad.
And in this package that he sent, he included 3 Polaroid photos of Vicky Wegerly dead on her floor. And he also included a photocopy of her driver's license. He sent this shit to the Wichita Eagle. And this is only the beginning. Only the beginning. The next clip I have for you guys is from ex-Wichita Eagle editor Sherry Chisenhall. And she was obviously working for the Wichita Eagle when this package was received. Mm-hmm. This audio is being sampled from a interview in the BTK Confessions of a Serial Killer docuseries on YouTube. I will put links in the show notes because these episodes were another really great resource of mine for this case. But yeah, this is Sherry telling us what was inside that package, and I'm going to play that for you now.
My administrative assistant goes through the mail every day, and she had gotten a letter that had a photocopy of what appeared to be an old Polaroid. It looked like a woman's body on the floor and a copy of a woman's driver's license. The driver's license was Vicki Wegerly's. Her murder had never been tied to BTK.
And this package was the first of several packages that he would send leading up to when he got arrested. And for the 100th time, this truly scared the shit out of everyone. This is the first time BTK has communicated with anybody in over 2 decades. People thought that maybe he had died or moved away or anything. But for him to send this and just reignite the fear within the community, I mean, it was the ultimate high for him.
Right.
The Wichita Eagle immediately turned the package and its contents over to the police, and the FBI got involved. There was even a task force put together during this specifically for catching BTK.
Oh, wow.
And you have to think, too, his reign of terror being 30 years from the 70s up until he got arrested in 2005, there were like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 generations of cops looking for him. Yeah. Like, that's how long, that's how long his shit went on for. And it's just wild. You think about the impact of going so long being dormant, and then for him just to, bam, here, I'm BTK. Did you forget about me? Hey, nope, still here.
Right.
Here's this driver's license. Here's these photos. Like,
no one is safe.
People really, really fucking wigged. So on May 5th, 2004, Dennis sent another package, but this time he sent it to Cake TV. He really loved Cake TV because A, he watched it for so long, but also because they actually gave him attention and covered him, so he really loved it.
Right.
He sent this next package under the name Thomas B. Kingman, which again, both of his names is just BTK rearranged in different ways. It's fucking stupid. But in this package, he included a word puzzle that was made up of lots of random letters and numbers, so it's like a word search, basically.
Right.
And that's another thing to know about Dennis. He loved puzzles and he loved communicating in codes and riddles. So he put this word puzzle together for the news anchors and or police to figure out. Some of the words hidden in this puzzle were ruse, victim, address, servicemen, follow, cruise, handyman, fake ID, remodel, prowl, and fantasies. And there was more than that. That's just to list a few. He also included the numbers 6220 hidden in this puzzle, which was his house number.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he lived at 6220 Independence Street in Wichita, I think, so he hid his address in it, which is fucking wild. And then one of the words in that puzzle was address, and he put his numbers for his literal house number in there. Like, he was really going for some shit. This is how deranged he was. Just playing this game with police and authorities. It's crazy.
What? Wait, I'm still trying to wrap my freaking head around that, okay? Like,
it almost doesn't sound real. It almost doesn't seem real, I'm telling you.
It's like the worst topic fever dream that you could ever have in your life.
That is exactly what this case is, truly. I was even taken back putting this together. I was just like, holy shit, dude. Holy shit.
You're listening to an episode of Gore Report on True Crime by Indie Drop-In. We're going to take a quick break. And now back to this episode of Gore Report.
So in that same package with the word puzzle.
By the way, I'm surprised that the word trolling wasn't in there.
I'm pretty sure it was, stupid fuck. But also in that same package, he included an outline for telling his story. Like, he sent a guide on how to cover him, basically. He even organized everything into chapters, and he named this work, quote, the BTK story.
You guys aren't covering me correctly.
So here's a little guide, just in case you need it.
Guide.
So these were the chapters for his story. He just had the chapter names. Chapter 1, a serial killer is born. Chapter 2, dawn. Chapter 3, fetish. Chapter 4, fantasy world. Chapter 5, the search begins. Chapter 6, BTK's Haunts. Chapter 7, PJs. Chapter 8, MOID Ruse. Chapter 9, Hits. Chapter 10, Treasured Memories. Chapter 11, Final Curtain Call. Chapter 12, Dusk. And Chapter 13, Will There Be More? So on June 9th, 2004, Dennis taped a sandwich bag containing a brown envelope to a random stop sign in Wichita, and someone found it. This envelope contained very graphic typed descriptions of the Otero murders, pictures of women that were bound and gagged, and some of the pictures even had captions such as, quote, "The sexual thrill is my bill," end quote. And then he also included another copy of his BTK story chapters.
Okay. Okay.
He said, I'm just done.
Yeah, because it's just like
crazy.
One B-rated movie
after the other.
another.
On Saturday, June 17th, 2004, a bookkeeper at the local library found a package labeled BTK in the bottom of a book return bin, and she called the police immediately. It was a plastic bag filled with lots of stuff. There was a story in there called Jakey, and this story was referencing a 19-year-old boy named Jake Allen who had died under some questionable circumstances, I guess you could say, before Dennis planted this package. I believe this boy committed suicide. That's what the authorities believed. But Dennis wrote this story named Jakey, trying to take credit for his death.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dennis said in this letter, quote, Jakey had fantasies about sexual masturbation in unusual ways with bondage and homosexual thrills. While I peck this out, my Sparky is going hard. End quote. Yeah.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Right, like what the fuck? Dennis admitted later that this was all bullshit, that he of course had nothing to do with his case. He just wanted the shock reaction from the authorities, basically.
Yeah, because it's all a twisted little manipulation mind game.
It's a game to him.
It's a game.
And that's something to know too. Like when he initially saw this ad in the paper that a book was going to get made about his story and he felt like it was inaccurate and he wanted to write a letter to like set things straight. Well, it went from that to where it turned into a full-blown game. Dennis was convinced in his mind that all of these officers were his buddies and they were just having a great time playing this game with him. That's literally how he viewed it. That is quite literally how he viewed it. It was a game.
Wow.
On October 22nd, 2004, a UPS driver found a plastic bag with a manila envelope inside of it during one of his pickups at the Omni Center in Wichita. It was labeled BTK Fieldgram. Inside this envelope were pictures of children who had bindings and other things drawn all over them. And he also included a half-accurate, half-false autobiography that he wrote about himself. Like he put some details in there that were true and some that weren't because he was trying to mislead the police.
Right.
In December of 2004, Dennis called in a bomb threat to get some attention. He didn't actually have a bomb. More so, he just wanted his latest package to be discovered. This is how much of a child he is and an attention seeker. So this package he was referencing was a Special K cereal box labeled bomb threat. And yes, before you say anything, this stupid fuck used cereal boxes as clues because he was a serial killer.
Bomb threat on a serial K box. So serial killer and BTK.
Yes.
Okay.
So when this package was found, inside of it there were pages that contained extremely graphic details from the murder of Nancy Fox. There was a gagged Barbie doll with its hands tied behind its back with a bag over its head, and attached to the feet of this doll was Nancy Fox's driver's license. Not a photocopy, but her actual driver's license that he had kept for decades.
Holy shit.
Yeah, chilling as fuck.
And all this is going on, and wifey just has no idea.
His kids have no idea. His church congregation has no idea. No one.
And no one knew that he had a body in the church. That's what blows me.
No one knew. No one knew anything. So January 25th, 2004, Cake TV received another package And this was a postcard asking if a cereal box that he left in town had been found. He was seeing if anyone had found this, basically.
Right.
So when he sent this package, he listed the return address as S. Killett, 803 North Edgemore, Wichita, which, if you don't remember, that was the Otero's home address, 803 Edgemore.
Oh my God, it was.
So this box was found pretty quickly after, he sent this postcard. He gave some clues on how to find it. It was leaning against a road sign for North Seneca, and it had another Barbie doll in it. This doll was bound with rope around its neck, and the rope was attached to a small section of PVC pipe. This doll was meant to represent Josephine Otero, because he hanged her from a pipe, if you remember that gnarly tidbit from part 1. I hate that. He also had a slip of paper in there labeled PJ Little Max 11574, which is the date of the Otero family murders. And he also left clues as to where to find his next cereal box.
Okay, so we have
You said, I am done. Like, the look on your face right now, you said, okay. I wish we just close it out now. Thanks for following us. Find us on Facebook.
Right. Okay, guys, you can find us on our socials. We're done.
It's fucking crazy. Again, this is really hard to grasp that it's real because it just sounds so far out there, but it's real. This man really did this.
I'm just thinking about the mental repercussions of the shock, like just the fear and the shock and people being afraid to walk down the street because all of this shit is being found. The police are like running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Yeah, this man literally...
Nobody's feeling safe.
He terrorized. BTK struck fear into this community in 1974 when he murdered the Oteros. And here we are in 2004, and he just pops up after so long, and he's doing this shit. Like, Wichita was fucking terrified. I could not imagine any of this. Also, in early January of 2005, Dennis Rader was elected president of church council at the Christ Lutheran Church. And 8 days after that, he left another Special K cereal box in the bed of a random pickup truck in the parking lot of the Home Depot store located at 3350 North Woodlawn Boulevard in Wichita.
Not the Home Depot.
Yeah, this was the box that he had given instructions to find in his last package. So police officers and detectives go to that Home Depot store. They're asking all of the employees and everyone if they had found a cereal box. And it turns out that there was an employee there who found a cereal box in the back of his truck that was labeled BTK bomb. And he thought someone was fucking with him, so he threw it away at his house. Like, he went home, found it, and was like, what the fuck is this? So he threw it away. Luckily, though, within that next week, the police started putting up flyers asking Home Depot employees from that location to keep an eye out for a mysterious cereal box. And this guy, he went on vacation for a few days, came back.
Right.
He saw the flyer and he realized, holy shit, I had a strange cereal box sitting in my truck. And it clicked. So he ran outside and somehow he looked in the trash and it was still there. He went out so he didn't, move his trash cans or whatever to be picked up. So it sat there. So he found it, called the police, and then he immediately turned over the box. And in this box was a list of details regarding some of his new possible projects. And Dennis also included a small letter to the police. And this is going to fucking take you, because when I tell you that this absolutely just fucking took my breath away for no other reason other than how stupid he is. Because you hear all of this shit that we've talked about, all of the calculation, the word puzzles, leaving clues, the way he's torturing these people in this town. You think that, wow, there's little glimpses. Holy shit, you're scary. You may be smart. But then this next part just takes that all away. And it's like, oh, nope, you're a fucking idiot. And you just fumbled your way into everything. So he put a letter in this cereal box asking the police that if he sent a floppy disk, would he be able to communicate that way without it being traced back to him? The letter actually said, quote, "Can I communicate with floppy disks and not be traced to a computer? Be honest."
What?
Miscellaneous section 494 in parentheses, Rex, it will be okay. Run it for a few days in case I'm out of town, etc. I will try a floppy for a test run in the near future, February or March. So let me break that down. When he said, Rex, it will be okay, Dennis was saying that he wanted the police to respond to his question about the floppy disk by putting it in the paper saying, Rex, it will be okay. That was going to be code for the police to put in for him to read to know if it was okay to send a floppy or not. He's thinking, he said, be honest with me now. Can I do this and it be okay? If so, be honest with me. Put it in the paper and I'll read it. And then I'll send it to you right away. So Dennis, in his mind, he's thinking that they're his friends. He's thinking that they're genuinely going to be honest with him, that they're going to follow the rules. He's not thinking about anything else. So when the police got this, I could imagine they were like, are you like fucking kidding me? What do you mean can you send a floppy disk and it not be traced? And what do you mean be honest, Dennis? What do you mean by that?
Okay. All right. I'm done.
But wait, it gets better. It gets better. So when the police got that, they obviously put the ad in the paper saying, Rex, it will be okay. They literally put that in the paper and then they waited.
Oh yeah, they got his ass.
Police also looked at the surveillance footage from the parking lot of that Home Depot store to see if they could, maybe see who put that cereal box in the back of this guy's truck.
Uh-huh.
And even though the film was grainy and they couldn't quite make out who the person was, they did find that the person who dumped the cereal box was driving a black Jeep Cherokee. So they had a vehicle identified.
Oh.
On February 3rd, 2005, Cake TV received another postcard from Dennis. And in this postcard, he told them how much he appreciated the police being honest with him about the floppy disk. And he said that he would send it soon. Because they put in the paper, Rex, it will be okay. So he took it as, they're telling me I can send it and it not be traced. Thanks so much for being honest with me. I appreciate it.
God.
I'm going to send that to you right away. Thanks. And
I so look forward to hearing from you. I do. I so look forward to hearing from you.
And it was on February 16th, 2005 that Cake TV received a package containing a purple floppy disk. Dennis had used the computer at his church to make this floppy disk, and he sent it in. So as soon as the police got their hands on it, they gave it to their IT guy. He popped it into his computer, and he saw that the disk came from a man named Dennis at Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita. And a very simple internet search revealed that the president of the Christ Lutheran Church was a man named Dennis Rader. So now they had a name.
We done come full circle.
Can you believe that shit?
We started out with some hick ass attention seeking,
just horrible shit,
fuckery to some huge Saw type manipulation bullshit.
Terror amongst this whole town, this whole community for 30 years, and then there was the disc, and then there was the floppy disk. I will never get over that. So, please tell me, can I send this and it not be traced? Just be honest. Be honest with me. Tell me. I will never get over that shit. I swear. Oh. So, now that they had a name in the church and they had that whole connection, right?
Yeah.
None of that was concrete enough in terms of making an arrest. It was pretty convincing, but they needed a little more. So, get this shit. They got smart. From the Otero crime scene and the Nancy Fox crime scene, semen had been collected by police. Because if you remember, Dennis left semen at his crime scenes.
Yeah.
But in the 70s, DNA testing was in its infancy. So in spite of that, the police still kept these samples in case something changed. And underneath the fingernails of Vicky Wegerle, there was also DNA. Because remember, she fought him and she scratched him, right? So all of these DNA samples had been saved for decades, just in case the off chance came that they would have someone to test those samples against. They preserved everything and kept it, and that ultimately is what broke this case, technically. So after a little digging into Dennis Rader, The police got access to Dennis's daughter, Carrie's medical files, and they used her DNA to test against the crime scene DNA, and it was a match.
Wow.
This 100% concluded that the president of Christ Lutheran and Boy Scout leader, Dennis Rader, was BTK. And after years and years and years and years and years, they finally got him. They finally had enough to figure out who he was and to arrest him.
What?
It is crazy.
What a turnaround, and what a way to catch somebody. Like,
it's wild.
To think that, okay, so your children, your family life that you loved so much ended up being your downfall over a floppy disk.
I mean, it's wild. Again, for the 500th time, none of this even seems real. So with all of this information gathered, the DNA was a match. It was February 25th, 2005, that Dennis Rader was on his way home for his lunch break, and he was surrounded by police and arrested. They saw him driving his black Jeep Cherokee, the same one that they identified in the Home Depot video.
Uh-huh.
So upon his arrest and a search of his home, they also found all of the contents of his hidey holes. They found his Polaroids and his slick ads, which, if I didn't bring that up yet, the slick ads were index cards that he made where he'd paste pictures of various women from magazines that he would cut out. He would put them on these cards, and then he would draw bindings and gags and all kinds of other fucked up shit on them, and then he kept them. He called them his slick ads. So police found all of this, and he was immediately taken into custody. His wife, Paula, immediately divorced him. She actually asked for an emergency divorce, and it was granted the next day.
Wow.
She immediately left him and was like, fuck this. It was immediate.
Good on her.
She wasted no time. So now BTK was caught. And it would be July 27th, 2005, that Dennis Rader appeared in court with Judge Gregory Waller presiding. On this day, Dennis entered a plea of guilty, and the guilty plea tossed out the need for a drawn-out trial. So basically, it kind of sent everything straight into the sentencing phase.
Right.
So during this court appearance, Dennis confessed in brutal detail to all 10 of his murders. He detailed his plans, his methods, everything. He went about describing these things as if they were normal, mundane, everyday activities. Like, if you watch his confession footage, it is chilling, because he just, you would think it was like someone describing how they went to the grocery store and got a bag of chips and then came back home. Like that type of shit. He was just so nonchalant about it.
What the?
So he tells all of this to the judge, and the family members of the victims were also allowed to speak during this time. They were allowed to tell the courts of everything they had lost and all of the suffering they had endured when BTK murdered their loved ones. Because most of his murders were unsolved for, well, all of his murders actually, because his last murder was 19. Yeah, his last murder was 1991. He didn't get arrested until 2005. So all of his murders were unsolved for so long.
Yeah.
So long. It is just absolutely heartbreaking to think about. So when his sentencing phase took place, it was August 18th, 2005, and it was a 2-day process. And Judge Waller found Dennis Rader guilty of 10 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Julie, Joseph Jr., and Josephine Otero, Catherine Bright, Shirley Vian, Nancy Fox, Maureen Hedge, Vicky Wegerly, and Dolores Davis. And Dennis was given the maximum sentence possible, which was 10 consecutive life sentences. He has to serve a minimum of 175 years before he's eligible for parole.
Under the jail.
Today, Dennis Rader is 78 years old, and he's serving his time in solitary confinement at the El Dorado Correctional Facility located in El Dorado, Kansas. And even though Dennis has been behind bars for nearly 20 years now, the nightmares and the pain he caused will never go away for some. The families of the innocent people he killed may have closure in some form, knowing that the man responsible for killing their loved ones is behind bars. But the question of why, as well as the absence of their family members, will never truly go away, even with the passing of time.
Right.
And not only were the families of BTK's victims deeply affected and forever changed by his actions, but his own family also carries a weight and a loss of their own, especially his children. I mentioned this book in part 1, but I just want to bring it up again because I think it's appropriate. But in 2019, 14 years after the arrest of her father, Carrie published her own book called A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. And in this book, she tells her story of what she lost when she found out that her loving best friend dad was also the BTK killer. She talks about the personal hell that she endured, and I think it's really, really powerful. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes for this episode as well, just in case you guys want to check that out. But I want to end this episode with an audio clip. I sampled this from an interview special that Carrie did with PBS Kansas news station in 2019. I'm also going to leave a link for the full thing in the show notes if you would like to check it out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play that for you now.
I lost myself. I lost myself when my dad was arrested. I was being told in the national media, hounded as BTK's daughter. We want an interview with BTK's daughter. You look at all the headlines even today, if you were to Google me, it's BTK's daughter, it's not Carrie Rawson. My book, it's called A Serial Killer's Daughter. Like, I pushed back against that title, but they were like, that's what you are. It took, more than a decade to be able to say, I'm BTK's daughter, I'm a serial killer's daughter, this is my reality. Now how do I live and how do I function and what do I do with that for good? I've learned how to talk about it, how to look people in the eye. So that's better. I mean, I consider I can talk about it openly. So in many ways, I'm healed in those ways, but I don't think I'll ever be fully healed, and I don't think the story will ever be over.
And that will conclude the final and second part of BTK Good Fucking Grief. I am so happy that we're at the end of this. I want this man out of my brain.
Rotten Tomatoes gave it a rank of 1. 0 out of 10, do not recommend.
So, yeah.
Like, he is so lame.
Right. I mean, it's definitely...
I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. I literally... Listen. It's the inside of my brain right now.
Just crickets.
Yeah, it's just crickets. It's the inside of my brain right now because, as the story was going along, I was piecing stuff together. But then that twist with the fucking address and the
word puzzles,
all of it, the cereal boxes, the Barbie dolls, the pictures.
He really he builds you up to think that he may be
some mastermind,
but then there's more than one point that I could technically make this point with, but the fucking floppy disk,
it's
guy?
Like that part got me.
Let me just ask you a question. Right? If I want to send a floppy disk, if I want to communicate with y'all, can that be traced? Just be honest. Just tell me the truth. Be honest. Tell me, Rex, it will be okay.
What the fuck did he think was gonna happen? I mean, obviously he was in Delulu land, let's be honest, but whoa.
Well, it's like I said, and I'll leave it at this. It's something that just blows my mind, is that through his communications with the police, as I said earlier, it was a game. He was convinced that these police officers were his buddies, were his friends. He could not imagine that they would lie to him. And even when he got caught, they arrested him, they brought him in. He gave over 30 hours of confession. They just brought him in and he just talked and talked. And he specifically said in his interrogation, he was like, I can't believe y'all lied to me. He was like, I thought we had a bond. I thought we were playing a game and you fucking lied to me? That is not even me.
That's what your bitch ass gets.
I'm not even trying to be funny. He dead ass was just so shocked that they had lied to him. He was like, I thought y'all were my friends. We've been writing back and forth for years. And you lied to me.
Yeah, that part got me. But you know what? The baby part, that...
Yeah.
I'm done.
Oh, and another little end note that I want to make, and then I'll tie this whole episode out, but I thought this was very, very touching. I didn't really include it in my notes, but I did want to make it a point. But Charlie Otero, who was the oldest surviving Otero child, and Steve, Shirley Vian's child that Dennis followed home, you know, Steve and Charlie are like best friends. They're like brothers.
Oh.
Yeah, they met, they talked, they kind of like got to know each other. They shared that grief of BTK taking their family. So now Charlie and Steve, they basically have like this crazy great brother bond. They talk all the time, they hang out, they fish, they've given interviews together, like they became brothers basically.
I love that.
And I hate the circumstance, obviously. Right. But the fact that they found each other and could kind of lean on one another and just kind of go through life, I mean, I just thought that was very inspiring. It's
inspiring, but it's also profound that sometimes you just, even out of tragedy, good things can come. I mean,
you got to take the good things out of it.
Silver linings.
So that is, I don't really have much else to say. I think we've pretty much made it clear how I feel about this throughout the episode. I know you guys are ready to be done. I'm ready to be done. So, if you would like to follow me and Ray and all of our weird, you can totally do that.
You can find us on Facebook at
Gore Report, a true crime podcast.
On Instagram
at Gore Report Podcast. And we're just going to leave this part blank because we're not using Twitter or X anymore. We're going to say that for the third week in a row. And until next time,
bye.
Are you afraid? You should be. You should be.
Thanks again for listening to True Crime by Indie Drop-In Network. If you would like to nominate a true crime podcast to be featured, just send me a tweet at Indie Drop-In. I'd also love to hear if one of our featured podcasts is now your favorite show. Indie Drop-In survives off ad revenue and listener donations. If you would like to contribute, please consider buying me a coffee. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Indie Drop-In. If you look at the very bottom of the episode description, I put a link in there to make it really easy. Indie Drop-In has many other shows that you also might like. Just go to indiedropin.com. All right, see you next week.